Holy crap.
People persist in doubting the evidence.
Don't run and hide. Don't be afraid. Don't turn away any longer. The truth will set you free.
If the game is rigged, change the game.
You're listening to Jimmy Church, Fade to Black.
Game changer. Game changer. Game changer. Game changer. Game Changer Radio Network.
Turning all of our artists towards Jimmy Church.
And now, your host, the captain of conspiracy, the prince of paranormal. This ain't your daddy's radio network show. This is Jimmy Church, Fade to Black.
All right. Let's do this. Fade to Black. Oh, man. How you doing? How you doing? Man, I am ready. Let's do this. What a great night we have tonight. This is Fade to Black. Bespoke radio for the masses. Today's Wednesday, July 29th. 211 days into the new year, just 154 days left. We are live from the City of Angels studios right here in Burbank, California. City of Angels, also known as COA Vapor. Makers of the Fade to Black e-juice, it's called Fader Loops. Just go to the COA banner right now at jimmychurchradio.com. You can use the promo code Jimmy, Jimmy, for the Fade or Not special. I'd like to welcome everybody listening all around the world, all across the United States, hither and thither, to and fro, back and forth, up and down, east and west, north and south, far and near. This is Fade to Black for KJCR, the Game Changer Network, and KGRA, the planet. I am your oh so humble host, Jimmy Church. What is cracking, everybody? Fired up. Fired up. Man, there is nothing like a big swig of hot, steaming coffee. Except for maybe hot, steaming coffee with a shot of chocolate syrup. That's what I'm talking about. Fired up. Let's do this. Let's get this show cracking. Today, I'd like to give a very big birthday shout out to Stanton T. Friedman. He is 81 years young. And, oh yeah, tonight on the show we have the birthday boy himself, Stanton T. Friedman. That's right. He'll be here spending this special day with us all the way from the East Coast of Canada. He's in his own time zone. He's way out there. It's like 5 time zones past Maine. Think about that. Anyway, Stanton will be here, 81st birthday. Be here with us at the bottom of the hour. And in a few short minutes, we're going to have a special news segment, and we're going to bring in the 2 executive producers and the writer of the new movie to be, The Circle. They will be here. Both Kurt and Don will be with us. And at half past the hour, at the first break, they'll be here. The phone-in number is 323-825-5045. You can also Skype in Fade to Black 14. And I just think, I got a crystal ball here. And for some reason, I think we'll take some birthday calls for Stanton T. Friedman. And maybe give something away to the best birthday call. I don't know. Let's see if we have the time. Would you guys like to call in and wish Stanton T. Friedman a happy birthday? Let me know on Twitter. And if you guys do want to do it, and we could bang out, 10 or 15 calls really quick, I will do that. Okay. I can make that happen. I've got pull. I can make it happen. All right. So there you go. Happy birthday, Stanton T. Friedman. And tonight, I just have to say to have Stanton spend such a special night here with us on Faded Black is very cool. And I promised Stanton today. I said, Stanton, get ready. We're stepping outside of the box tonight. Okay, Mr. Church. Whatever you'd like to do, Mr. Church. So there you go. So that's what we're going to do tonight. I'm very excited. Also, I want to make a couple of announcements. Number one, the T-shirts. Thank you. We sent out the links on that again today, but get your Fade to Black T-shirts. All sizes are in stock. All of them are ready to ship. Get yours. We still have a few of the very special official Fade to Black crew shirts that the team wore out at Contact in the Desert. Those are there on the website. And go and get you some. Everything is ready to ship. Everything is in stock. So order, ships the next day. How cool is that? And now, a couple of quick announcements. Studio Dome, we will have a new promo that is going to happen on Monday. Also, I believe we're waiting on the timing of things, but they've got a very, very special product that will be available just for the Fadernauts, a little pre thing. Okay, so they've got this really cool speaker that is coming out, and you guys are going to have the first crack at it before it hits the market. Okay, so I think we're ready to go on that, and we'll make all of those announcements on Monday. Keep your eyes peeled on the website at jimmychurchradio.com, and we will probably have some info up on Sunday night, maybe Sunday night, leading into the show on Saturday. With that, let's get this show cracking. Today, well, got Stanton out of the way. Also today, Geddy Lee. Geddy Lee, 62 years old. There you go. Man. I used to draw the cover of Rush, Exit Stage Left, All the World's a Stage. The first live album came out in the mid-'70s. And I used to draw that album cover because it had the Rickenbacker bass with the Ampeg amps on one side, the drum set in the middle, on the other side, the Marshall stacks with the Les Paul sitting there. And without the band, but it was the perfect thing to draw. I used to draw that. I had 100 versions of that album cover. Geddy Lee, your influence is, you can't even, there you go. That's it. Geddy Lee, 62 years old. Also today, kind of strange too, I thought. And I just shot him an email or a text to say happy birthday and remind him of this. Dean Haglund of the X-Files, the lone gunman, today is 50. He's 50 years old. Shares a birthday with Stanton T. Friedman. And I asked him if he knew that. And so there you go. Happy birthday, Dean. And I think Dean, he's over in Australia. He is shooting right now. What he is shooting and what is going on, well, that seems to be the big secret right now, doesn't it? Well, Dean is probably going to be here with us tomorrow night on Fader Night, just to do a drive-by and say hello and talk about all of this flurry of activity about the X-Files. And so there you go. I announced it the other day, but I'm going to let Dean come in here tomorrow himself and hang out with the Fadernauts and let us know what's really going on. Our dead guy's birthday today is Elizabeth Short, otherwise known as the Black Dahlia. 1924 to 1947, was murdered at the age of 22. At age 19, she moved to California to become an actress. This story was such way pre-internet. I mean, it was something that when I got here to California in the early mid-'80s, it was something that it was just like it was something that people talked about all the time. Her body, which now if you've gone out and checked out the story, and you should, because That's a rabbit hole right there. You can go in any different direction on that. It is unsolved. But before the internet, there was so much information about it here. And but if you don't know about it, go check it out. Her body was mutilated, drained of blood, cut in half, found in Los Angeles, Leimert Park in 1947. Her murder became one of the most famous unsolved cases in the United States history, end of story, period. About 60 people confessed to the murder. Suspects remaining today, it is unsolved, include Walter Bailey, Norman Chandler, Leslie Dillon, Joseph A. Dumais, Mark Hansen, Dr. Francis E. Sweeney, George Hill Hodel, and that's a crazy story there. Hodel's friend, Fred Sexton, also another crazy part of the story. George Knowlton, Robert Emred Manley, Patrick S. O'Reilly, Jack Anderson Wilson, and talk about like Bugsy Malone and other mafia guys. I mean, it's just like a crazy, crazy story. And just tragic Hollywood story. There you go. Happy birthday, Elizabeth Short. And like I have said the last few nights, we are very, very passionate about films here. And we talk about them every day. And, well, music too. But Dyatlov Pass in particular is a story that Rita and I talk about all the time. We speculate. We've had people over from Russia that have visited us and our family here, and we've talked to them about it. And it's just another unsolved mystery. 9 people died, most of them kids, college students, and it's a story that is going to get done again. And at Contacting the Desert, we met Don Baker, we met Kurt, and tonight they're going to be on with us. Their Kickstarter campaign is active right now. You can go to jimmychurchradio.com, click on the banner, head over, and contribute. This is an important film. It's going to be a cool film. It's not a documentary. It's not. It's I'll let them tell you about it. They're going to be with us here in a couple of short minutes, and you can take the time to head over to their Kickstarter campaign and check it out. You can see who the director is. You can see how they're doing it. They'll be talking about that tonight. We'll see how the Kickstarter campaign is going and what you can do. It is definitely worth a contribution. The banner is at jimmychurchradio.com. Now, really quick, before I head to the break and then we get Don and Kurt in here, I've got to light it up on Twitter really quick. And I've got to go with Geddy Lee. I want to know, what is top dog Jerry Ski just did Rush 2112? And he just said best all-around album. He answered, best overall album, he says 2112. And I was going to go with the greatest Rush song of all time. What would that be? Working Man, the live version, pretty good. Tom Sawyer, Red Barchetta, something off of it's so vast and so great and so amazing and so influential, especially on me personally. I just don't know where to go. So is it great albums or great songs when you think of Rush? Think about that, because that's the real question. Is it singular songs, or do you have to take albums in toto? Just like Jerry Ski did. This is Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. When I come back off of the break, we will have the 2 executive producers of The Circle right here on Fade to Black. Don Baker and Curtis Cochran will be right here. Stay right there. Bespoke radio for the masses. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. At JChurch Radio is the Twitter handle. KGRA is the syndication. I'll be back right after this. Stay with us.
You're listening to Jimmy Church, Fade to Black.
Fade to Black will now pause for alien identification.
The station that talks the net. KGRA Radio.
What's up, revolutionaries? It's me, Jimmy Church. Do you have an IRS or state tax issue? Well, I did, and I called national tax experts. My problems were fixed, done, fini, and man, I gotta tell you, it was a relief. National tax experts are a recognized tax office that services clients in all 50 states. It doesn't matter where you live. Give them a call. I'm telling you, they take the time to understand each and every client's individual financial status as well as their financial goals. And that's exactly what you need, my brother, when you're taking on the evil 3-letter. So, seriously, give them a call today at 1-877-909-5444. Again, 1-877-909-5444. Or go check out their website, www.nattaxexperts.com. That's NATTAXEXPERTS.com. Tell them Jimmy sent you.
9 out of 10 geneticists agree.
Fade to Black is not your father's radio show on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, The Planet.
Hi, this is Chase Kletsky with Fate Magazine Radio, and you're listening to Jimmy Church and Fade to Black on the Game Changer Network and the KGRA digital broadcast station, where the Fader-Knots rock.
All right, everybody, welcome back. This is Fade to Black. Bespoke radio for the masses. Great day today on the show. Tonight is Stanton T. Friedman, 81st birthday bash. We're going to do it right here on Fade to Black. Fired up. All right. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Bespoke radio for the masses on the Game Changer Network and KGRA, The Planet. You can follow us on Twitter at JChurchRadio. Email is jimmy@jimmychurchradio.com. Any questions or comments, that's hashtag F2B in Twitter, F2BQ. And then the sandbox is hashtag F2B. All right, I would like to welcome to the program Don Baker and Curtis Cockrum. How are you guys?
Doing well, thank you.
Okay, always remember one at a time. So let's do it this way. The rules are Don first and then Curtis second, only because alphabetical order. So we'll do it like that. Anyway, welcome to the program. I've been announcing all week the circle and how we met at Contact in the Desert, and I was able to see the trailer there at Contact in the Desert, and I think you knew that after speaking with Rita and some other Fader-Knots that were there, that Dyatlov Pass is one of the stories that we talk about all the time on the show. I've had different investigators on, different researchers. I've had family members on the show talking about it from Russia, and it is just such an important story, not only about how it happened, where it happened, and when, but also that it's unsolved. So, Don, let me throw this over to you, and welcome to the program. Don, you wrote the screenplay. How did you first hear about Dyatlov Pass, and why is this such an important film to make?
Thank you, Jimmy. Thanks first off for having us. You've got a great show, and we really appreciate talking to you. We heard about this story. A friend of ours, of Kurt and mine, a mutual acquaintance, actually, he grew up in Russia. He was born in Russia, but he has a lot of family. He came to the U.S. at an early age, and most of his family is still in Russia. And this gentleman has done a lot of, his family has been involved in politics in Russia and in diplomatic corps there. So he has a lot of inside information. And this is a fascinating story, as you know, certainly in Russia, but all over the world. And our friend brought us this story. It was about 4 years ago, and we started looking into it, and we found out that some of the information that he was telling us was really astounding. I mean, it was stuff that had been covered up and really been hidden from not only the Russian populace, but also the world populace for a long time by the Russian government. So we get really enthused about it, and that's sort of how we came together on the project.
How did you two meet?
Well,
actually,
Kurt...
Don
Yeah, go ahead, Kurt.
Yeah, actually we met, gosh, I think Don and I both had hair back then. It's been so long ago, but probably about 10, 12 years ago, we met in the infomercial industry. And Don has a strong background in the industry. He's wrote a lot of scripts for infomercials, and he's done several other screenplays. And we met through the info industry working on other projects.
And when you started to get the idea together and you get the screenplay done, in the normal channels of getting projects like this off the ground, you've got to go to a film studio. You've got to pitch it. You've got to go into some VP of production and pitch, and keep your fingers crossed, and hopefully you won't get slapped around too bad. You know, that was the old way of doing things. This is a brave new world, and you chose to go the Kickstarter route. Why Kickstarter? And did you feel that you were going to get the film made no matter what because you didn't want to deal with the studio brass?
Don, you want to take that, or you want me to answer that one?
Kurt, go ahead. You're involved in that end, so go for it.
Well, yeah, we originally started this being a small independent production company. We're very limited in funding and that type of thing. And we took this to a few equity investors that were fascinated with the story and wanted to help. And they gave us some developmental money to get this off the ground. We chose to go to Kickstarter because Kickstarter has become this incredible platform for people and small companies and businesses and individuals that have these creative projects that they want to launch but don't have the funding to launch them. So we spent the last almost year preparing and getting our Kickstarter site, promoting our story, and going to various events like Cyril International a couple weeks ago, Contact in the desert back in August, and getting the word out that we have just launched our Kickstarter site. And we're trying to come up with as much of the production cost for the film as possible. And in addition to that, we'll probably get some more equity funding, but we really need the support of the public out there that's interested in this story. And, for us, this story, it kind of touches home. We all have teenagers. These were 9 young college students that were victims of a terrible tragedy. And, their families to this day still don't know what happened. These kids have been kind of forgotten, and we all have kids, and we'd love to see the story come out. And this is our interpretation based on a lot of research that's been done, what we believe happened on that terrible evening.
Who's, let's get some quick questions out of the way. Who's directing the film?
Nick Itages.
And where did you find Nick?
Well, Nick did, as you know, Hollywood's a very small industry, and a lot of people know everybody. Nick was highly recommended to us by one of our entertainment attorneys. And Nick was born and raised in Vera, Greece, and migrated to the U.S., and he attended the Lee Strasberg Theater and Film Institute in Los Angeles. He's an incredible, passionate individual, and when he heard about our project and we met with him. We just felt we had that chemistry and could really collaborate and work together to bring the real story out. Nick's worked with some Oscar-nominated editor Christopher Greenberry, and Nick was involved and collaborated with him on films such as American Beauty, Something About Mary, Dumb and Dumber. So he's worked on some pretty popular projects, and he also produced and directed and wrote the award-winning Without Borders, distributed by Village Roadshow.
Right. Saw that. That was actually great. Now, with Kickstarter, you always have to have the really cool packages. What are some of the what are some of the cool things? If I'm like a $10,000 guy, what do I get? What kind of gift bag do I get? Either one, guys. Silence in radio is death.
I will handle that one. This is done, and we are. We have so many incredible packages on there, and you can do everything from, obviously you can get typical kinds of things like T-shirts and hats for the film. You could get a signed script of the film. If you want, there are some higher rewards, which are visits to the film set, for instance. You could even be a member of the acting of the cast. You can have dinner with the director. You could have dinner with the producers or some of the actors and actresses who will be participating in the film. And, so really it runs the gamut. There is even a place where if you would like to, I think it's, maybe it's 9,000 or somewhere right around there, but you can get your name in your business name in the movie, like maybe it's on a sign or a menu or who knows what. But it's really pretty interesting. And that's the great thing about Kickstarter, is that it kind of allows you to tailor the awards to the rewards to everyone's budget. Because if you have $10, you can find something. If you have $10,000 that you want to be in the film, you can. It also allows that opportunity for contributors. So, Kickstarter has been so helpful to us, and we really look forward to having a successful campaign on there.
When does the campaign end, guys?
It will end in, right.
I didn't hear that. What was it, Don?
It's ending in about 35 days from now.
Okay, so 35 days left for the push. Well, any way that we can help you, I will ask our audience now, and I've announced it every day on the show. Don and Kurt would appreciate any contribution. Just go to Kickstarter. The links are at jimmychurchradio.com. Go contribute. It's a cause that is worthy of your donations, and I really, really appreciate anything that anybody can do. And Don and Kurt will have you back on the show in about a month or so. We'll see how things are doing on Kickstarter, and then, of course, we'll be visiting the set when things are in production. Thank you so much, guys.
Terrific. Thanks for having us.
Thank you. Don Baker and Curtis Cochran, the executive producers of The Circle. Just go to the banner at jimmychurchradio.com. It's very simple. Just click on it, head over to Kickstarter, and help out our good friends. They are fellow Fadernauts. All right, let's take a quick break, because when I come back, we'll start the birthday bash for Stanton T. Friedman. Thank you, Don. Thank you, Curtis. The movie is The Circle. Just go to the banner at jimmychurchradio.com. Click on it and become... get your name in a film. When was the last time you did something like that? The answer, never. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Bespoke radio for the masses. This is Fade to Black on the Game Changer Network and KGRA, The Planet.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
station that talks the net. KGRA Radio.
Hi, this is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black. Today, everybody, the Fadernauts and planet Earth is vaping. And I'm very proud to announce our very own e-juice. When we were approached by City of Angels Vapor about Fade to Black e-juice, I wanted to make sure that it was the very best and that the flavors were something that I could create myself. And we did just that. Introducing Fade to Black Fader Loops. This will take you right back to Saturday morning cartoons and your favorite bowl of fruity, loopy cereal. Just click on the banner or go to www.coavapor.com. Enter the promo code Jimmy for the Fader Not special. That's www.coavapor.com. Go back, Lee Tappy.
Hi, this is Ray Hobbs here repping the planet, and you're listening to my good friend, Jimmy Church, Fade to Black, on the Game Changer Network and the KGRA digital broadcast station.
Imagine no longer being tied down to your computer, but having the freedom to take live talk radio with you anywhere you go. TalkStream Live introduces our first ever iPhone application. The talk shows you follow now follow you. And your iPhone is now the fastest and easiest way to stay connected to the best talk radio on the internet. Let TalkStream Live transform the way you listen to radio. Listen to live talk shows 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Mobile talk radio from TalkStream Live. Now available in the iTunes App Store.
This is Toby Kebbell. You're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com. Don't hurt me, Jimmy. I'm only little.
Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier.
And this is Ari Gold.
We're the Honey Brothers. We're of the Honey Brothers. Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier.
And I'm Ari Gold.
We're the Honey Brothers.
And you're listening to Jimmy Church.
The Revolution.
Attention, all Fadernauts. Studio Dome has a special deal on their SD1 Bluetooth speaker. Just go to jimmychurchradio.com, click on their banner, enter the promo code Jimmy, and you get $40 off and free shipping on the SD1. It's voice activated, comes with a USB antenna, cables, and a carry bag. Never listen to your phone, tablet, or laptop speakers ever again. It's the only way to listen to Fade to Black. That's jimmychurchradio.com, Studio Dome banner, promo code Jimmy. Go back, Lee Tappy.
This is Micah Hanks of the Gralien Report, and you're listening to Jimmy Church on Fade to Black, across the globe on the Game Changer Radio Network and the one and only KGRA Radio, The Planet.
All right, everybody, welcome back. This is Fade to Black, bespoke radio for the masses. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Nuclear physicist, lecturer, Stanton T. Friedman received his BSc and MSc degrees in physics from the University of Chicago in 1955 and 1956. He was employed for 14 years as a nuclear physicist by such companies as GE, GM, Westinghouse, TRW Systems, Aerojet, General Nucleonics, and McDonnell Douglas, working in such highly advanced, classified, and eventually canceled programs as nuclear aircraft, fission and fusion rockets, and various compact nuclear power plants for space and terrestrial applications. He became interested in UFOs in 1958, and since 1967, he has lectured about them at over 600 colleges, 100 professional groups in 50 states, 10 Canadian provinces, and 18 other countries, in addition to various nuclear consulting efforts. He has published more than 90 UFO papers. He's going to correct me in just a second and update that. It's probably over 200, and has appeared on hundreds of radio and TV programs. His books do include, and I have them all, Crash at Corona, the definitive study of the Roswell incident, Top Secret Magic, Captured, the Betty and Barney Hill UFO experience, and that was co-authored with Kathleen Martin. Flying Saucers and Science. His newest book, also co-authored with Kathleen, is Science Was Wrong. I would like to welcome back to the program, and just a warm happy birthday to Stanton T. Friedman. How are you tonight, sir?
Well, it's late and I'm tired, of course, but I'm fine. I'm glad to be alive for my 81st birthday.
Happy birthday to you. Hey, check this out, Stanton. I don't know if you know this, but today, they released the copyrights on the song Happy Birthday. So now I can sing it and not get charged. How cool is that?
That's pretty darn cool.
I would get fined for singing it, but I don't have to pay any copyright and publishing anymore. Yeah, that was always a weird thing, wasn't it? The rumor about
yes.
you couldn't sing Happy Birthday in a restaurant because the restaurant would have to pay for it, so they would like have their own Happy Birthday song. It's like, what?
We live in a strange world, man, in many ways.
So, Stan, happy birthday, young man, 81. And how many candles did you get on the cake?
Didn't put any on the cake. Just went out to dinner, and I'm so glad to be alive. You know, a year ago I had a heart attack, and that idiot birthday was something big.
Oh, man, I will never forget that. You gave us quite a scare, but looking at you at Contact in the Desert, and you and I had a few opportunities to hang out. We did a panel together and stuff. And I'll say this. You look great. You look like you feel great. How are you doing?
I'm doing fine. You know, they make sure after a heart attack they give you a prescription for nitro, and I filled it, and I haven't used any. I had 2 stents put in. I'm doing fine. I'm traveling. I've been traveling. I got a full schedule coming up. People can see it at my website at www.stantonfriedman.com. And, you know, I was in Roswell for several days a couple weeks back. I'll be this coming week in Liverpool, Nova Scotia for a Paracon, paranormal conference. And then I'll be going to we're in New Hampshire and to Maine. And I'll be at Exeter, New Hampshire. They're having the 50th anniversary of the incident at Exeter.
Wow.
That's coming up in early September. And I'll be over in England to give a lecture at a conference. These are also on my website in mid-September. And then I go to the MUFON conference in Irvine, California, the 24th, I guess.
Yeah, it's September 24th. We'll see you there. I'm doing a little thing there on Saturday night. So it'll be great to see you again. And you have spoken at more MUFON symposia than anyone. Isn't that right?
Yes.
So how many MUFON?
Yes, I have.
How many MUFONs have you?
I lost track when it hit 14, so I don't know how many it is now.
Oh, it's going to be fantastic to see you. I remember the little pre-party, the pre-show get-together out of Contact in the Desert, and at the house. And I walked in, and you were sitting there with Kathleen, and I almost didn't recognize you. I was like, "Who is that handsome guy?" And I took another. No, I'm serious, Stanton. I took another. I was like, "Wow, that's Stanton. He looks frigging amazing." The fountain of youth, and he's not sharing is not a cool thing. You need to, give us a tip once in a while. And but it was great seeing you. And seriously, 81, you look great. And what do they say? It's better to look good than to feel good. Well, there you go.
Well, I feel good anyway. That part is good. And, I think part of it's a question of attitude. Another part is I take a lot of supplements, vitamin C and stuff like that. And the third thing, which of course is probably the most important, is genetics. Both my parents lived to be 90. So I got 9 more years to go,
Yeah, and you know what's weird? And this is the truth, and you're an example of that. And I think I am too. I'm going to be 52 this year. And when you were a kid, somebody that was 52 was frigging ancient. They looked ancient, they acted ancient, and so forth. Today, I think it's we're definitely. I don't know if it's immortality or immortal comes to be part of it, but it seems like when you look around and you see people that are 50, 60, 70, 80 years old, everybody is the opposite of what we thought we would be when we were kids.
Well, my mother was a remarkable exception to the normal rule. She was one of twins. She weighed 2 pounds at birth. This is back in 1910, you understand. And she didn't have any hair until she was over a year old. And yet, she outlived her 4 siblings by a minimum of 15 years each.
What?
So there was a strong will to live there, I'll tell you that. The other twin weighed twice as much and died at birth. But so who can predict these things? Some people have a, what do you call the gene for will to live?
The will to live gene is what it's called. Well, and as you look back, and I've said this about you a few times, I may have even said this to you directly, you've definitely forgotten more than I know. And I think that's how I introduced you at the panel out at Contact in the Desert. And that is it's a term of endearment and respect. But
I appreciate that. Keeping active, I think, is really important. People say, "When are you going to retire, Stan?" I said, "Why should I retire? I like my boss. What am I going to do? Sit around and watch television?" People want to hear me. I still write my monthly column in the MUFON Journal, Perceptions. I get a kick out of it. It stimulates me to look around, and they give me a pretty free hand. So I'm the voice of, what the heck's wrong with these idiots who are saying these dumb things? That's me saying... Well, I get a chance to express my views, and there are some people who have told me that that's the first thing they read in the MUFON Journal. What's Friedman complaining about now?
Well, when you back in the day, when I say back in the day, that's like the age of videotape. And I was, collecting UFO videos left and right, and going down to the local video store and buying and ordering things out of magazines. And I would listen to you. You would speak very factually about things where it causes somebody like myself and other researchers in ufology to stop and pay attention. You're the professor in school that everybody enjoyed going and listening to, and we would absorb. But with all of that stuff laid out, and now here you are at 81 and looking back with this vast amount of knowledge, what is it that you would like for me to take away from Stanton T. Friedman as far as not only the ET hypothesis, but in a factual sense, what is it that we need to understand? My paper for the MUFON Convention Conference this year, symposium, is making ufology respectable. And, the whole symposium is really devoted to, how do we become more acceptable this way, that way, the other way. And my first rule is have facts in hand before putting mouth in gear. That's why I come on so strong against the idiotic arguments of the SETI people, the silly effort to investigate, as I call it. It's truly incredible that in today's world, we hear some of the dumb things we hear. You've heard about the $100 million that a Soviet billionaire, Yuri... Let's just call him Yuri.
Milner.
Yeah,
Yuri. Well, the name comes from, he was born the year that Yuri Gagarin became the first man in space.
That's right.
Where the Yuri came from, 1961. And he's going to spend $100 million. But he also, and this is a guy who puts his money where his mouth is, he gives the most expensive, is that the right way to put it? I don't know. He has set up a prize, the Breakthrough Prize, international awards in 3 different areas: life sciences, fundamental physics, and mathematics. $3 million each.
Yes.
And that's bigger than the Nobel Prize, quite a bit bigger, as a matter of fact. And so, I got to respect the guy, and he also kind of strange thing. He was the first non-immigrant from Russia to go to the Wharton School of Finance and get an MBA there. So interesting background. And the kicker here is, when you stop to think about it, look, Stephen Hawking is involved. Lord Rees, the British Astronomer Royal, is involved in the committee that's putting this together. This is a 10-year effort starting in January. $100 million. Now, when you stop to think about it, what is the basis? This is focused on SETI, both radio and laser beam. So at least it's not just radio. But the basic assumption is there's life out there, intelligent life, and they are, for some reason not specified, sending messages that we can intercept and interpret. I mean, there's all kinds of radio signals you can pick up, but, you know, there's got to be more to it than that. But we have tons of data in ufology that indicates that aliens have been visiting us, the planet, I should say, not me personally or you, as far as I know, have been visiting us for at least 70 years. And nobody wants, the SETI people totally ignore that data. Look at their books. I reference their books. They don't reference mine. And I check my audiences, and typically 1 or 2% have read any of the 5 large-scale scientific studies that I talk about. I debated with Dr. Seth Shostak of the SETI Institute, and he hadn't read any when he attended a lecture I gave at the Queen Elizabeth. We each got a free cruise across. We each gave 3 lectures. We were friendly. We debated, though, on coast-to-coast radio. And I got 57% of the vote. He got 33%, and 10% said, I don't know who won. But the point is this. Are you interested in extraterrestrial intelligence? Then look at the... Well,
oh, I've kind of lost you there, Stanton.
Go to the dozen or so PhD theses that have been done. It's amazing. Most of the SETI people are astronomers. And yet they don't refer to Dr. J. Allen Hynek's book. They don't refer to Peter Sturrock's book, Dr. Peter Sturrock, Dr. J. Allen Hynek. Peter was a professor at Stanford University, the UFO Enigma. And he's done surveys of astronomers, and yet there's Lord Rees on this group, R-E-E-S. And I did a column on the fact that he stated publicly that only kooks see UFOs.
Yes.
Any supporting evidence, any references? Not a one. Not the slightest indication that he studied any of the evidence. And he gets, look, I'm a big fan of the Kepler Space Telescope. It's a very neat device. And it's the one that's found gazillion planets, you know. And they made a big fuss just, a week or so ago about an Earth-like twin or that sort of thing. Like, someday that'll be important to us. That we'll look at. But the physical trace cases, the radar visual sightings, the large-scale scientific studies, the abduction cases, the solid evidence gets ignored.
Well,
it's like, we don't want to talk about that.
Yeah, exactly. And when you read the announcement from Hawking and Urey about this, I know you did the Stanton T. Friedman read between the lines, why are they really doing this analysis. And so when you did that, what did you come away with? What is the real intention?
Well, Urey is going to be among the big players in the world. He's entered the U.S. market, you might say, in a very heavy fashion. And I give him credit for that. I'm not knocking him. But what I came away with is we want to stay away from the much more politically sensitive flying saucer data. it doesn't hurt anybody. Nobody's going to give you a hard time for talking about life out there.
Right.
We're looking for signals. Who can complain about that? But if you start talking about UFOs, how do you get into politics? Well, you want to figure out how they work. You worry about because they make wonderful military systems. We worry about the other guy figuring out how they work before we do.
Right.
We worry about something that's crucial on the planet. We don't want, they, I should say, don't want Earthlings to owe their allegiance to the planet Earth. They want them to keep on with nationalism. And this applies to all countries. It's not just the United States or just Russia or China or England. Every country wants its citizens to owe their allegiance to them. That's why we're spending $1 trillion this year on things military.
Right.
$1 trillion.
Well,
look at all the kids who are starving.
Stanton, what about I want to ask you about these two glaring points for me with this announcement. The first one is Stephen Hawking has now taken 180 degrees about face, because he was, up until last week's announcement, he was telling us we need to keep our radar telescope mouth shut. That we don't want to.
Well, wait a minute now.
Well,
wait a minute. What Stephen was saying was we don't want to send signals.
Right.
This money is going for listening for signals, but there's a logical inconsistency there.
Yes.
That is, Stephen was worried about, like Columbus wasn't very good to the natives.
Exactly.
So if we announce ourselves to the aliens, they're going to do us harm. Well, if they can't get here, how can they do us harm? So he's basically assuming that they're able to get here, and we don't want to let them know we're here. Like they couldn't find us. Like they haven't been here.
Right.
And haven't, and so that is a logical inconsistency. But none of these guys, I've complained about Dr. Tyson, the Hayden Planetarium director, because he doesn't understand, and none of these guys do, I guess, that governments can keep secrets. His proof of that was how much we know about President Clinton's genitalia. Isn't that funny?
Yeah, right.
Governments can't keep secrets because of that.
Right.
But an absurd remark. And what I've found is that, there's a two-part world. There's the secure world and there's the insecure world. By that I mean there are some people, including the astronomical community, that think all research goes on in academia. And you find out about scientific research by reading peer-reviewed journals. And you can find out something that way, but anybody who thinks that's the only place research gets done in academia, and the only way you find out is to read it in the journals, that's nonsense. I worked under security for 14 years. There were big programs, expensive, exciting programs, productive programs, but when they were classified, the stuff wasn't published in scientific journals. It was in technical reports.
That's right.
But these weren't, you take a place like Los Alamos. I've been there. There are over 7,000 people working there. And if it's like GE, when I worked there on nuclear airplanes, we had 3,500 people. 1,100 of them were engineers and scientists. One project, and in 1958, we spent $100 million. Coincidentally, the same amount that Uri is putting into this effort over a 10-year period.
What would that be in 2015 dollars?
Certainly more than $1 billion.
Yeah.
Certainly more than $1 billion. Look, Los Alamos' budget this year is $2.2 billion.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot more than 12 professors and 35 grad students, isn't it?
It certainly is.
So it's such an inconsistency. I'm reminded of a cartoon, and I'm not an artist, or I put the words in my column on occasion. The guy is crawling around on the ground and a cop comes along, and he's under the streetlight, so the cop sees him. What are you doing down there? I'm looking for my keys. Well, where'd you lose them? Well, that's my car down the street there. I lost them over there somewhere. Well, why are you looking here? Well, there's more light here.
Right.
We know about radio signals, so let's listen for them. What the heck? Not that we have any evidence that anybody's using them as a means of communication. And one of my mantras, and that's a strange word to use, I know, but is that technological progress comes from doing things differently in an unpredictable way. The silly example I use is I don't use a slide rule anymore. I did when I worked in industry, and I know a lot of people today don't even know what a slide rule is.
Never seen one. Right.
And
Not
we
me,
did use them.
yes.
Nobel Prize winners used them. Today you got a little pocket calculator for a few dollars. You can do everything a slide rule could do, and 10 times as much. It comes from doing things differently. So, yeah, our first long-distance radio signal was received back in 1901 up in Newfoundland, as a matter of fact. And, that's not very long ago compared to the time that the Earth has been around.
Right.
And as a matter of fact, this new planet that's newly discovered planet that we're hoping might be a twin to planet Earth is 6 billion years old, not a little over 4 billion years old. So we know that there's been plenty of time during which somebody might have gotten a little bit ahead of us, got there before we did. If you think back 200 years, we didn't know anything about neutrons, gamma rays, X-rays, DNA, space flight, airplane flight, radio, computers, anything high-tech you can think of. Who had electricity 200 years ago? Nobody did. So that's a very short time compared to the amount of time available for learning more and improving and doing better. And so, this is juvenile. It's standing up and say, hey, give us some money so we can do what needs to be done. This will be the greatest search in man's history. Dr. Jill Tarter said the equivalent of that. We're going to make, Frank Drake of the SETI program had said several years back that there might be as many as 8,000 places in the galaxy that could be sending us signals. And now a good number, thanks to Kepler and things like it, is there might be 8 billion places.
Yeah, I was just going to say 1 trillion. You can
8
almost
billion's enough.
That's what, that's what I'm saying. I remember when just a couple of years ago on this show, I remember pulling numbers up that were current. 100 million, was a number that was thrown around, and then it was it just went up exponentially. And honestly, the answer, Stanton, it's infinite. When you look at the Kepler high res stuff now, and the dense galaxy stuff that they published last week, where they thought was just a single star, that is now blown up, and that single star is literally 100 million galaxies. As it's blown, it's just crazy what we can see now compared to the pre-Hubble days, and every single one of those spots isn't a star. It's another galaxy full of stars.
Well, that's right, but our egos are still in the way.
Yes, they are.
And that's the kicker. We say we're interested in extraterrestrial intelligence, but as long as it stays out there, we're interested. But, there was a study done, Brookside Institute, the Brookings Institute, way back in 1960 or 61, where what happens if we do encounter somehow, somewhere, some particular way, another civilization. And they said one of the groups that would be bothered the most would be the scientific community because they'd lose some of their special status. Ego gets in the way.
Completely.
But it's crazy with this thing with Uri. Yes, $100 million would make nice funding. It would be nice if we had some serious looking at money like that. I must admit, I've had 2 research grants in my life on UFOs. One was from Bob Bigelow, and we went over and looked at the place where one of 5 crashes that I'll be talking about in 2 weeks in Nova Scotia happened in the plains of San Augustine. And the other was from the Fund for UFO Research, like 19,000 and then 15,000. And here, that was years ago, so it was a little bit more money than that now would be. But we're not talking $1 million or 500,000, or 100 million. We're talking peanuts. And so it is interesting. Some guy will do a PhD thesis some point in time. How did those idiots sit back and let this notion that the only way to find ET life is listen for his signals, laser or radio? And they're still making the stupid argument you can't get here from there.
That's a good spot to take a break, Stanton.
Okay.
Tonight, Stanton T. Friedman's 81st birthday bash is going on right here at Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. More with Stanton T. Friedman when we come back after this short break. Stay with us.
Way out here, we listen to Jimmy Church.
You're listening to Fade to Black.
Always on the edge of the hottest alternative talk. Jimmy Church with Fade to Black. KGRARadio.com.
Hey everybody, what's up? Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and check this out. The 2015 MUFON Symposium will be held this September 24th through the 27th in beautiful downtown Irvine, California. Expanding ufology, opening new doors in academia, industry, and media. Former Defense Minister of Canada Paul Hellyer will be there in person. Former CNN news anchor Cheryl Jones, TV news journalist Jaime Maussan, and MUFON's chief photo analyst Mark D'Antonio. They're just a few of the growing list of names for the 2015 event. It's September 24th through the 27th at the beautiful Hotel Irvine. Get your tickets today at MUFONSymposium.com. That's MUFONSymposium.com. Go Beckley Tepe.
¿Qué tal, mis amigos? Yo soy Mario Carson, el tiburón, y los invito para que escuchen a mi buen amigo Jimmy Church Radio. ¡Claro que sí!
Did you ever turn to your radio for your favorite talk show to find that it's been preempted for this?
In the air, to deep right center. Back goes Lewis to the wall, and it's out of here!
Or this?
And I'm ashamed of you, Hillary, for voting for it.
Do you have a favorite talk radio program that's not available in your city? Just go to TalkStreamLive.com for links to the best streaming talk radio shows. At TalkStream Live, you will find live talk shows 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. All your favorites are here. With such a large selection, you will also discover some new favorites. On the go and still want to listen? With a mobile smartphone, simply type TalkStream Live on your internet browser. Now you can take internet radio with you. You will also find hundreds of music, news, and sports streams. Best of all, the TalkStream Live directory is free and there's never a login required. Remember TalkStreamLive.com, the fastest route between you and your favorite talk radio show.
You are listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Oi, oi, I'm Reese Evans. You're listening to Jimmy Church. This is Revolution. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution is on radio. Ciao.
right, everybody, welcome back. This is Fade to Black, bespoke radio for the masses. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. And I just want to say a little bit ago, what did Stanton say? You got to 81, staying healthy and taking vitamins. And I'm taking mine right now. I take Power Bites every day live on the show. Here we go. Boom, done. Power Bites, EnergyWave.com. That's EnergyWave.com. Just go to the banner right there, Jimmy Church Radio. Click on it. Use the promo code KGRA. Get your Power Bites today. That's Power Bites. Or EnergyWave.com, Power Bites. Stanton, I do it every day live on the radio. I take vitamins. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, no, makes good sense.
I do it every day. I take my Power Bites.
Well, there's an interesting aspect of this whole vitamin business. People forget that what farmers put on their land is done so to increase the yield, how many pounds per acre, if you will, and the beauty of the product and all that sort of thing. There is no requirement whatsoever that they do anything to improve the nutritional status of it. And as a specific example that people might be interested in, I'm very interested in magnesium. And there have been several studies, a lot of studies, but particularly in Finland, where the amount of magnesium in the soil, and therefore in the water as well, varies when you move from this point to a couple hundred miles away. And they've done studies on the incidence of cardiovascular disease as a function of the magnesium level in the soil. And the higher the amount of magnesium in the soil on these places where people live off the land, in other words, they raise their own animals, the feed for the animals is from right there. They're not getting their food from 500 miles away or 2,000 miles away or even from California. The higher the magnesium level in the soil, the lower the cardiovascular disease rate is. And as I say, nobody asks the farmer to replace the magnesium that's lost. It's a mineral. It's not like adding nitrogen or stuff like that and gases that are all over the place.
Right.
So nutritional concerns are not uppermost. And I'm not blaming the farmers. Of course not. And I called the guy... they published the latest recommended daily allotment or intake, various and sundry minerals and vitamins and stuff. And they set new standards in Canada. And I called the guy in charge. His name was in the paper in the article. And I notice you don't say anything about the cardiovascular aspects of magnesium. Well, there aren't any, he said. I said, oh, you're not familiar with the work of Karpon? And I rattled off several others. It was just like talking to a UFO debunker. He didn't know anything about the subject at hand, but presumed if there was something, he would have known it, and he didn't, so there must not be anything. This is the arrogance that goes with ignorance. And it doesn't matter whether you're talking magnesium and cardiovascular disease or UFOs and SETI. I read their stuff. They don't read mine. Which is kind of weird.
It is weird.
Well, there's a problem here. Houston, we have a problem. Why don't these guys pay attention? And, they don't, because they don't want aliens to be coming here, because if they were, who's going to pay to listen for them?
Were you ever...
Learn sign language.
Were you... Yeah, right. Were you ever on the Long John Nebel show?
Many, many years ago, yes.
I'm a big fan. I'm a historian, and I respect radio shows host of the past, and I go back and I listen to those. Not only his, I just love it. I'm a historian when it comes to that, and I research it constantly. And I have been going over the last couple of years. I've spent a lot of time listening to Long John, and the one thing that shocks me. I mean, it's historical fact now, but they honestly didn't have a clue about Roswell. He would bring up. He couldn't. Well, they could have, but they just didn't. But talking about all the other cases that had happened up until then, and I like to go back and listen to the historical data that they were collecting up until that point, which I find fascinating. But Roswell was completely not part of their, and how.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, how different today would have been if they were. You know what I mean? Because he would.
Well, yeah. There was. I'm trying to remember the name of the guy who talked about crash saucers. There was one guy who made a big noise, and he didn't have any evidence, but it sounded good, and who claimed to be a PhD somewhere, which he wasn't, and stuff like that. But yeah, the first one to bring out the truth about Roswell in the late 70s, and I was on Long John Nebel before that, that's for sure, and I wasn't talking about Roswell.
Right.
It's kind of strange, and anybody who's listening, please, I am not saying you believe everything you hear that's pro-UFO or pro-Roswell or pro-interstellar travel, but, look at the good stuff. There is plenty of good stuff. Is there a lot of junk? Yeah, because there are no rules of the game. We don't have peer-reviewed ufological journals, and some of the stuff that appears in peer-reviewed astronomical journals is full of baloney. I'll take any of these guys on. They haven't done their homework, of course, which makes it easier for me, but it's not only Roswell. My paper on the 7th, I think it is, of August, in Liverpool, Nova Scotia, this Paracon, is crash saucers from Roswell through, I'll talk about Aztec, I'll talk about in Pennsylvania. I'll talk about the plains of San Augustine and Roswell, and 5 different ones up through 1967, I guess. And that's only 5. There are others, but at least that's 5 that we can see that there's been some good, solid research done on. And the missing link here also is the Bollinger memo. For people who say, well, there's no evidence there's a secret government effort or anything like that, well, there is too. There's simple-minded evidence. Would you believe the NSA, no such agency, never says anything, those guys, Mr.
Right.
Snowden's buddies, they released back in the 80s 156 top-secret Umbra NSA UFO documents, on pages of documents, on which you can read 1 sentence per page. Everything else is whited out.
Blacked out.
No, on NSA it's whited out.
Yeah, that's right.
CIA, it's blacked out. There's dozens of CIA top-secret Umbra UFO documents that are all blacked out except for a few words per page. And people will tell you, well, there is no cover-up. Well, the missing link was provided by General Bollinger, Carol Bollinger, Air Force General, who had nothing to do with UFOs. He was an engineer working on the Lunar Excursion Module, which we did land on the moon in 1969. And the Condon study had recommended, this is back in early 69, $500,000 study, talk about research grants, and they recommended that Project Blue Book be closed because it really wasn't contributing anything to science or intelligence and stuff like that. So the Air Force asked an insider, an Air Force General, Carol Bollinger, what should we do about Project Blue Book? And he wrote a memo, which we didn't see until 10 years later. But anyway, in the memo he said, he made an astonishing couple of statements. One of them was that reports of UFOs which could affect national security are made in accordance with JANAP, J-A-N-A-P, Joint Army-Navy Air Force Publication 146, or Air Force Manual 55-11, and are not part of the Blue Book system. Even though the Air Force has been saying for all of these years, Blue Book was it. And when we closed it, that was the end of it. No national security, no nothing. And then 2 paragraphs later, he says, if we close Project Blue Book, the public won't have a place to report a sighting. However, as has already been noted, reports which could affect national security will continue to be investigated using the procedures designed for that purpose. Now, holy cow, what is he saying? Well, I decided I wanted to talk to him about it, so I found him and called him and talked to him and said, it sounds to me like you're saying there are 2 separate communication channels, one for the important stuff, which could affect national security. And the example I gave him, I just heard before that, within a month of that call, I had heard about a case where a saucer went down the runway at a Strategic Air Command base where nuclear weapons were stored. Now, by definition, that is a problem that could affect national security.
You think?
Nobody's supposed to be there.
Right.
And I used that as an example. I said, then there's the run-of-the-mill stuff. If my wife and I are walking down the street and we see a UFO fly over, big deal. And he agreed with me. 2 separate channels of communication. But that points in the direction. Where did those good reports go? And I would say Operation Majestic 12, whose name has undoubtedly been changed, of course. That's what I talk about in my book, Top Secret Magic. We got some documents which were exciting. A briefing for President-elect Eisenhower, in which it says that President Truman established a group called Operation Majestic 12 in 1947, September, because of Roswell. And it said Roswell happened and there were bodies found and so forth. And the logical point is that that's where the reports which could affect national security would be sent. Now, there are a whole bunch of phony MJ-12 documents. And people say, well, doesn't that mean that they're probably all phony? No, it doesn't. Disinformation has been a part of national policy for many countries for a long time. You put out baloney and hope that your enemies, eat from the baloney pile.
Well, and wasn't it a Canadian document that actually referenced Majestic 12 first in an official capacity?
I don't think so. Certainly Wilbert Smith in 1950 or so said it's the most classified subject in the United States, even more so than the H-bomb. And there's a small group working under Dr. Vannevar Bush. He didn't give it a name. To figure out modus operandi, how does it work? And I think that was MJ-12 or one of their subgroups. When you stop to think about it, but there's another part of this, something I recently found out, and that is I had written the Navy. I tried to find out their UFO information years ago. The Office of Naval Intelligence, ONI, which was the biggest of the intelligence agencies, said we don't have anything about UFOs. And I sent the guy who said this a Joint Air Force Naval Intelligence report. Thank you for the interesting report, he said, but as I told you, we don't have anything about UFOs. Well, I recently filed a Freedom of Information Act request with the Office of Naval Intelligence, and I just today, as a matter of fact, got back their second response, and they said we don't have anything on UFOs. So that tells me that the person involved may not know what they have because it goes someplace other than ONI. Just as the Air Force stuff went to places other than Office of Special Investigation, the Air Force Intelligence Group. And so I had some great Navy reports, and people filed them. And where are they? Well, they're not. I would think that they're telling me the truth. The ONI doesn't have anything. It all goes to MJ-12. They didn't say that. It would be nice if they had. But, people look at me, disinformation? What do you mean? I said, well, we used it to fool Hitler. Oh? Well, yeah, in World War II, everybody knew that soon the Allies would invade Europe to try to retake Europe from Hitler. And the question was where? And we made a conscious, sincere, and intensive effort to subtly, S-U-B-T-L-Y, subtly impress Hitler with the notion that attack would take place near Calais, which is on the English Channel there. And we even stuffed documents into a dead officer's pocket and dropped the body off Spain, knowing the Germans at that time would get those documents. And it wasn't blatant, but everything pointed toward Calais. And Hitler's generals, when we landed at Normandy, which is quite a ways from Calais, asked them for the reserves to be sent. They've come. We need the reserves. And Hitler said, that's not the real landing. That's going to happen over here at Calais. No, you can't have the reserves yet. We don't want to be fooled. Well, it was in Normandy and not in Calais. And that may have cost Hitler the war. Because if we'd been beaten off at Normandy, who knows what would have happened after that. I knew it was problematical, it was difficult, it was so forth. So disinformation has a long and honorable history, if you want to put it that way.
Well, you can point the finger right at, Benowitz and Sir Richard about a disinformation campaign that was successful and that is documented. When anybody would ever question, no, they don't do that. Well, you know what? Look at this. And you're right. You could look at Normandy. You can look at, for me, I look at Richard Doty and Benowitz and that entire affair over at Kirkland Air Force Base about Bill Moore. Don't talk to me about disinfo when it is very active every single day in ufology.
Well, I'm saying there's no surprise there. It's not an invention of Friedman's that maybe the government's putting out this information. It started long ago, and
yes,
I'm sure Washington's general put out false stories, to lull their opponents to thinking there was nothing going on.
Well, I wanted to ask you, I don't want this to get away from us. When we're talking about Hawking and Urey, that was the other point I wanted to make. There's something that smells a little bit funky here, and I would like your opinion on it. To me, when they put that 10-year timestamp on it, it seemed, this is me reading between the lines, Stanton, I think that Washington is going to use, it feels like they're going to use Hawking as the excuse for, I don't want to use the word disclosure, but for evidence of coming from the private sector. Oh, I guess there is. They're going to allow Hawking to make contact or to make some type of disclosure in this 10-year window so that they would be able to say, okay, I guess there is stuff out there, and they will allow themselves to soften the blow on disclosure or the possibility of alien contact. What do you think about that?
Well, I think that the government would be delighted if people focused outward instead of inward. There aren't really any big security implications of picking up a dumb old radio signal or a laser signal.
How has your philosophy on that changed over the years? The big disclosure, if it happened, the proverbial.
Well, I haven't joined the official disclosure efforts. I do talk about a cosmic Watergate. What I'm looking for is a Woodward and Bernstein pair.
Right.
Somebody. It's easy to prove that the government isn't telling us what it knows. I mean, after the first 100 documents that are all whited out and only one sentence per page, there's a cover-up, darn it. It seems strange to me, but at the time that they decided to release those highly what will I say, highly censored documents, redacted.
Redacted.
Too fancy. Yeah. At the time they did that, I had people in the ufology community call me and say, Stan, they're not covering up anymore. Why do you say that? Well, the NSA just released 156 documents. I said, can you read what's under the whiteout? Well, no. Can you read what is in the CIA documents that's been blacked out? Well, no. Then they haven't released what they have. They told us they have it, but we don't know what's there. And, well, the excuse is it's all sources and methods information that's been redacted. So the documents are 98% sources and methods and 2% that makes no sense. So, they've been playing this game for a long time. And certainly the astronomical community, most of the members don't have the guts to stand up and say, I want to study the UFO evidence. They will tell you there isn't any. It's kind of like Michael Shermer, Dr. Michael Shermer, the head of the Skeptics Society. And he and I debated on Coast to Coast Radio, and I got 80% of the vote because he didn't know a darn thing. He made statements. This is research by proclamation, not by investigation. And, I spent time with Carl Sagan a year before he died. I was speaking at Cornell, and the professor in charge of the group that was bringing me in took me up at the airport, took me to Carl's house. He knew that we'd been classmates for 3 years at the University of Chicago. And we had cake and coffee and good old times discussions and stuff, and we had correspondence for quite a bit after that. And Carl has said there are interesting sightings that aren't reliable. There are reliable sightings that aren't interesting, but there are no interesting and reliable sightings. No evidence mentioned, no references given. No reference to Project Blue Book Special Report 14, which showed exactly the opposite. The higher the reliability of the sighting, the more likely to be unexplainable. And so these guys have been getting away with this. Now, I challenged Carl to a debate, and then I heard he was fighting cancer, and that was the end of that. I wasn't going to push him then, for obvious reasons. We were friends for 3 years.
Well, were you ever one of the flag wavers about, anarchy in the streets and the collapse of religion and world economics? Were you one of those guys, or do you think that we can actually handle the truth?
Oh, I think we could handle it. The problem is, where do we go from here? That is to say, I know of no government that wants its people to owe their allegiance to the planet. Nationalism, as far as I can tell, is the only game in town. So how do we convert a world in which that is true to one in which we talk as if we're all earthlings? No government wants that. In other words, it's just like Pat Robertson saying that, which he has, all the intelligent life in the universe is on planet Earth. This UFO stuff is the work of the devil, he said. Any evidence to support that? Not an iota. So, no, I was not one of those people. Will it be difficult? Sure. Will there be changes? Of course. But, I still don't have much sympathy for the buggy whip manufacturers who went out of business because the automobile came along.
Well, that's true. I think it would be relief more than it would be. I mean, the question finally gets answered. I mean, I can only imagine what, 5,000 years ago, with Stone Age man looking to the stars, that's what they were thinking. And they didn't know how to ask the question, but that question has been here. There's what happens when you die, and are we alone? Those are the two questions that we want answered. And if it is answered, I think it would be relief. I don't think it would be anything else. I think
but it would force us to change our ways.
Absolutely.
Look, $1 trillion being spent on military stuff this year by people on this planet. $1 trillion. Now, how do you convert from that to where we say, well, who's going to speak for the planet? And the kind of announcement I'd like to see is from the Queen and the Pope saying that indeed aliens are visiting us, and there are international conferences being held over the next several months about the implications of this, from a religious viewpoint, from an economics viewpoint. I mean, who knows? Maybe these guys are stealing some of our precious ores that we don't even think are important now, but we would in 50 years. Who knows what they're doing here? Look at all these reports of unidentified submerged objects coming into and out of the water. What are these guys doing? I don't think they're down to catch fish for a fish fry.
No.
There are nodules of various minerals on the bottom of the ocean. There are diamonds that have washed in off Africa. Who knows what they're doing down there?
Well,
you can
it's called
extract all kinds of things.
It's called water. That's why they're there. I've often thought about that, Stanton. And when we look, just look around us in our own solar system, water seems to be the most precious thing here. There's plenty of dirt, rock, and gas, but there isn't a whole lot of water. And
there's more than we thought.
Well, there's more than we
have
thought.
Evidence that there was water on Mars and places like that.
But it's something that we have in abundance. So
yes.
Maybe it's just plain simply water. It could be.
No,
just
it's salt water with other minerals included.
Now, let me ask you this, and we're going to go commercial free here for the next half hour, and I'm going to invite some phone calls from some of our Fade or Not family to wish you a happy birthday too as well. We'll knock some of those out. I'm sure that there's quite a few people that would like to have a chance to do that for you, so we might do that. But you've been studying for over 50 years now. And now looking back 50 years and looking at where you are today, like Contact in the Desert, let's just say that was, it's a pretty large convention. But did you think that 50 years ago that today is where we would be today? In other words, it's not much different than it was 50 years ago.
There's a difference in attitude. The young people today, we can't possibly be the only ones. The question is whether anybody's coming here, not whether there's anybody out there. But I hear that all the time. You didn't hear that 50 years ago.
Sure. Good point.
So I think there's the difference. And there's a general consensus in science now because of Kepler and the Hubble and stuff like that. I think there's also an awareness on the part of some people, a point I try to make, that we have learned about nuclear fusion. It not only makes H-bombs, but it's what produces the energy in all the stars. And so what? Well, you can use it for propulsion. I worked on a study of that in 1962, for goodness sakes. So it keeps us from being isolated out here. In other words, if we get a little smarter and want to spend the dough, we know how to go. That's my motto. How's that for a good line?
That's actually brilliant. Okay, let me pick your brain for a second. I've always wanted to ask you these questions. What is your favorite UFO photograph?
Well, I like the ones that have been analyzed in detail by people like Dr. Bruce Maccabee. And so people send me stuff, they send me videos, they send me all this digital stuff, most of which isn't worth a darn because there aren't enough pixels on the UFO. I like McMinnville because we have a lot of analysis that Dr. Bruce Maccabee even published articles in scientific journals about those. I like Trindade.
Yes.
Down in Brazil. These are clear daytime pictures of something in the sky, and we have witnesses. And those are important factors. Don't show me a picture of a light in the sky. I don't know what it is. But something with definite size, shape, surface texture, it clearly indicates it was manufactured. And we don't know how to make things that look like that and fly like that. If it wasn't made here, it was made someplace else. No, it doesn't tell us where the license plate is from. it doesn't answer all your questions. What's the name of the captain of the ship kind of thing.
Right.
But that somebody somewhere has built a device that is able to fly in our atmosphere in ways that we can't. Because if we could, we'd be using it for military purposes. I know people will tell you the Nazis did it all. Well, nobody's going to convince me that Hitler was a nice guy and he wouldn't allow this new technology to be used for military purposes. That's absurd.
Right.
If he could have built things that look like that and fly like that, he would have.
What did you think? My favorite, and when I was a kid in the 60s, and you open up Encyclopedia Britannica and flip to the UFO section, they would always show the Rex Heflin shot. That's
another good one.
That
Yes,
is.
I like that one, and there's some good analysis that's been done on that. And I've spoken at Santa Ana College. That was taken in Santa Ana, California.
Sure was.
And, good picture. I would include that on my list of top 10, if you will.
yeah, certainly. That's in my top 10, too.
But again, daytime, clear, not just a point of light in the sky. And a reliable witness in the sense he worked for the state of California, for goodness sakes. And again, it's been analyzed by people who work from the originals.
And they were
That's
Polaroids, too, as well. That's another important reason to take those very serious. And I gotta say, it's not only the photographs, but like you just alluded to, it's the story that goes along with it with Rex.
Yes.
And and he didn't want fame, he didn't want fortune. In fact,
No.
I don't think he even wanted people to see those things. And that just turned out to be an accident, in my opinion.
Well, whatever it was, I do consider those. I use those, and there's some others. And like I say, people think, everybody's got digital cameras, so we should have lots of good stuff. A Kodak Kodachrome slide has better resolution than most of the stuff you get out of digital cameras.
Oh, absolutely. It's real. It's analog. That's it. It's real.
Well, you can blow it up and fill a whole darn wall, and you don't lose anything.
That's right.
Try doing that with your 10-megapixel digital. Now, you got 40, that's something else, but most people don't have 40 on their camera.
And I also want to ask you about, and I've never talked to you about this, one of the great stories, incidents, if you will, but also the redheaded stepchild of ufology, in my opinion, because it gets so much neglect, is Shag Harbor.
I will be talking about that on the 8th or 7th, I guess it is, of August in Liverpool, Nova Scotia. I've been to Shag Harbor. It's a good case. That's one of my 5 landing, crash saucer cases. And, the good thing about Shag Harbor, not only that it took place 20 years after Roswell, so the witnesses are alive, but the good thing is we have witnesses, people who were there at the time and saw this thing go into the water and not come out. And you see, we don't have any witnesses to the Roswell saucer crashing or the plains of St. Augustine.
Right.
But we do in the case of Shag Harbor. And I've talked to some of those witnesses. And the RCMP, Royal Canadian Mounted Police, were involved right away because this happened at night. And the witnesses who were driving by on the road thought a plane had crashed. And if a plane crashed, then there might be survivors. We need to mount a rescue operation. Canada's done that a couple of times. And as a matter of fact, Nova Scotia has one of those sites where a plane crashed and where fishermen and others picked bodies out of the water and so forth. So because of that, the RCMP was on the scene quickly. The official government file still calls it a UFO, doesn't say it was identified. So it's a good case, and it'll be part of my discussion in Liverpool, South Shore, Nova Scotia.
Why is it, and you know exactly what I'm talking about, Stanton, why is it not discussed in the same sentences as Roswell or Kenneth Arnold or Malmstrom or Kecksburg or Bentwaters, Shag Harbor.
Well, because I think fewer people know about it. There is a book by Don Ledger and Chris Stiles, Dark Object. They did a good job, but it's out in the middle of nowhere, and it doesn't have the newspaper. There were newspaper stories, but the Roswell story got a lot of publicity. Remember that Roswell was the home of the most elite military group in the entire world, not just in the United States or North America, but it was the only group, the 509th, the only group in the world that had nuclear weapons. The Russians didn't have one until 1949. The crash occurred in 1947. So you will hear the nasty, noisy negativists, I like that phrase, as you know, complain of one of the big debunkers, Dr. Joseph Nickel, said that an unnamed PR guy put out an unauthorized press release. Well, his name appears in all the books that were written before Joe made that statement, but obviously he hadn't read any. Right. Walter Haut was his name. His name is all over the place. And the notion that he would put out an unauthorized press release is absolutely absurd. He knew Colonel Bolander very well. Colonel Bolander, yeah. The commander of the base extremely well. And if he'd put out an unauthorized press release saying something like that, he'd have been in the brig in, 3 minutes, and tops. And the colonel, incidentally, went on to be a 4-star general and vice chief of staff for the United States Air Force, is what he was when he died of a massive heart attack. So, the notion that we're talking about some bunch of dingbats with nothing better to do than to make up silly stories is absolutely absurd. And the information was there. And incidentally, Nickel, 9 years after he made that statement, he repeated it in an article, even though he and I were on the phone with a radio station where I pointed out the name of the guy and the details and all the rest of that. Totally ignored it. Why bother with the facts? Don't bother me with the facts. My mind's made up. That's the mantra of the nasty, noisy negativists. So, I'd love to see, there have been a dozen or so PhD theses done. I'd love about UFOs. And 10 of them are listed in my book, Top Secret Magic, MAJIC, about Majestic 12 and so forth. But I'd love to see one done on the will not to believe on the part of the debunkers or the astronomers or any group you want to pick that takes the attitude, 4 basic rules. Don't bother me with the facts, my mind's made up. What the public doesn't know, I'm not going to tell them. If you can't attack the data, attack the people. It's easier. And do your research by proclamation. Investigation is too much trouble, and nobody's going to know the difference. You can see that in some of the stuff that's been published.
I have a couple of quick questions I want to get out of the way really quick that came in via email. And this is from Jim, not me, from Jim. He says, does Stan have any thoughts on the EM drive that is now being tested by NASA and a German research team, especially in regards if UFOs would use a similar system?
Well, I've read a couple of the recent articles, and I'm not really sure how solid they are because I haven't gone into the details of them, but I've read about them. But even in my congressional testimony, which goes back to 1968, a long time ago, I talked about within the atmosphere a magneto-aerodynamic propulsion system similar to the electromagnetic submarine that was built in the mid-'60s by a Westinghouse Research Lab scientist, Dr. Stuart Way. And in other words, I envision a 2-stage system, if you will. One system for getting you from star A to star B, And another system, once you're at Star B, the Earth excursion modules, as I call them, the little ones that get carried along. And the analogy is directly with the United States Navy, which has aircraft carriers that carry, let's say 90 small airplanes. The airplanes can operate for a couple hours without refueling. The carrier is nuclear-powered, not diesel-powered, and it can operate for 18 years without refueling. So we've got one kind of system to get us between the stars. Nuclear fusion is my best bet. And another that operates in the atmosphere. And I think this study that you're talking about, those guys are talking about operating within the atmosphere. And people say, well, why would you bother? Well, simply this. If you have an electromagnetic propulsion system, you can ionize the air, that's a plasma you've now made, and interact with electric and magnetic fields and get around all the problems of high-speed flight. You can control lift, drag, heating, sonic boom production, radar profile. Those are very attractive ends. And I'll tell you, when I worked briefly for McDonnell Douglas, 1970, a long time ago, one of the few things I had time to do, the program was canceled before I even started, but they kept me for 3 months because they'd made me an offer. One of the things I did was a bibliography of government documents. The government did it, actually. Not open scientific literature, but just government documents using one key word, magnetoaerodynamics. I got 900 references. 90% were classified. I got an abstract for each of those. Somebody was spending a lot of dough seeing about the MHD way to go. And so there are reports that fit in there perfectly. Changing radar profiles, disappearing from radar scopes, changing color, the plasma around craft, stuff like that. So the basic notion, in other words, makes perfectly good sense to me.
Does that answer the G-force issues too as well?
No, that's a separate question, and many people have misrepresented the situation about G-force. It turns out the amount of G's, the number of G's you can stand, depends on a couple of different things. One is the magnitude, in other words, 4 G's, 8 G's, how far can you carry a box? Well, how heavy is the box? Same idea. The second thing it depends on is the direction of the force with regard to the body person. If you notice that the astronauts go up on their back, because you can stand more G's back to front than foot to head. That's the way it is. Now, let me give you some numbers.
Well, yeah, if you did it from back to front, your eyeballs would fall out. Think about it.
No, that's the way you do it, is back to front.
I mean front
to head.
If they were taking off lying on their stomach, so then
they're on their back. Yeah. As a matter of fact, Dr. Stapp, who was a guy who did all the jet-powered sleds, on rails.
Yep.
One of his trips, what a trip it was, got up to over 600 miles an hour on this sled, and he stopped in less than a second. He took 43 G's and lived to tell the tale. His eyeballs hurt, but he died in his 80s. And so it depends on the direction, the magnitude, and the duration, how long. In other words, you can stand, as it turns out, you can stand 30 G's for 1 second. That's 0 to 600 and some miles an hour in 1 second. And you would think it just disappeared. Well, how do you do that? Electromagnetically is the way you can exert an awful lot of force for a short period of time. Matter of fact, we have systems that build strange shaped things by slamming a piece of metal into a die, call it a mold if you want, for at very high speed for a very short period of time. Magnetoforming, it's called. And if the force lasts too long, you're going to smash the piece of metal. So the duration is very important. You can see that with lasers. You can use the right kind of laser to drill a hole in a piece of steel. You can also use a laser, just a brief zip, to attach a retina. A very delicate operation. And you better not put the power that you put into that laser that drills the hole in the metal. You drill a hole in the head. But so the question of G's, there's one book, Physics for People Who Don't Think They'd Like Physics, which says when you get to 9 G's, you die. Well, that's nonsense. A trained pilot can perform a tracking test. There are measurements for this now. While being accelerated at 14 G's for 2 minutes. That's an acceleration of over 300 miles an hour per second. Now, when you talk about something vanishing, well, if you can give a quick burst of speed, it's like you're vanished. Suddenly you're not there anymore. And the thing is that if you listen to reports of UFO sightings, the hypermaneuverability, right-angled turns, all this kind of stuff, you find that they don't slow down when they get to the corner, make the turn, and then speed up. It's zap, zap. And one way to do this is electromagnetically. Big force, short period of time. And incidentally, I mentioned electromagnetic submarine. Seawater is an electrically conducting fluid. We don't think of it that way, I suppose. But 2 different groups have operated an electromagnetic submarine, which works by having electric and magnetic fields at right angles to each other, giving a force, a Lorentz force, that's the guy's name, at right angles to both, and off you go. And the greater the magnetic field, the faster you go.
Hence the underwater, the USOs that you were referencing earlier.
The same object ought to be able to work in the air and in the water.
I'm
smart.
I'm gonna open up the phone lines. We'll get some people to wish you a happy birthday, and thank you for staying up late tonight. And so anyway, let's open up the phone lines. I'll squeeze in a few phone calls. Just make them quick, everybody. Just jump in and jump out and wish Stanton happy birthday. And then I'll tell you what I'll do. The coolest happy birthday message, that's the shortest and the sweetest. I've got an autographed Stanton Friedman DVD right here. That I'll give away tonight in celebration of your 81st birthday. We'll
Good.
Yeah, we'll do the opposite. We'll give away the gifts. So let's go straight to the phones. Hi, you're live. Say hi to Stan Friedman.
Well, hello. Good evening, Jimmy. Stanton, I just want to say I want to thank you very much for all the stuff and all the. You walked out on a plank many years ago when a lot of people didn't care. And for a happy birthday wish, I want to thank you for all of us that follow you. You're the Woody Guthrie of the UFO movement for us. You really are important, and I do want to apologize at Contact in the Desert. We were worried about you when you were walking out in the sun, and I was the guy that yelled, "Hey, get out of the sun, Stanton!" But you're sounding great tonight, so keep up the good health.
Thanks.
Thank you, Dino. Let's keep going. I'm just going to go in order here. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black. Say hi to Stanton Friedman.
Hi.
Hi. Let's do it.
Hi, Stanton. Hi. This is Lisa. I'm calling from San Francisco. I want to wish you the best and happiest birthday, and thank you for all your years of dedication and investigation and for lecturing and making so much information available to us that might not have otherwise been made available.
You're very welcome, and I hope to keep doing it.
And I hope you do as well. I look forward to seeing you at one of the next conferences.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, Lisa, you're in San Francisco. Make it down to L.A. He'll be at the symposium, the MUFON Symposium in September. So will I, and we'll all get together. We'll see you there, Lisa. Thank you for the phone call.
All right. Thank you, Jimmy. Good night.
Good night.
Hi, you're live on Fade to Black. Say hi to Stanton Friedman.
Happy birthday, Mr. Friedman. Happy 81st birthday. We love you. Keep doing what you're doing, and have a great night, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Just like that, straight to the point. Hey, Stanton, I do want to ask you this really quick before we wind things down, and we'll see if we have another time for a couple more phone calls. But do you think your opinion will ever change about Bob Lazar? Or maybe a better question, what would it take to change your opinion about Bob Lazar?
Evidence that he was a scientist. He did work at Los Alamos briefly. He did have a security clearance, but I can't. He certainly lied about the degrees he claimed to have. He lied about who was teaching at Caltech, somebody who supposedly he had for a physics course there. The guy never taught there. He said the government wiped his records clean. He didn't have any records at MIT. He finished in the bottom third of his high school class. He couldn't have gotten into MIT or Caltech. So, I asked many years ago, show me a resume, show me a listing, a diploma. I asked for several straightforward things that any real scientist would have. Bob never provided those. So I don't know what, if you show me a diploma that says I was wrong, fine. But there's been more than 20 years since I asked for it, and nothing has come of it. And George Knapp says he doesn't think Bob has those degrees. Why would you believe somebody who has told you lies? It's a simple question.
So the door is slightly cracked open then, is what you're saying. It's a little, you can kind of peek through the door just a little bit.
I'll give you that. Okay.
Stanton Friedman, all the best, and happy birthday. Thank you for taking the time out to come out and hang out with us on your birthday, and go do it again. I'll see you in about a month down here in Southern California.
Okay,
looking
good.
forward to it. Have a great rest of your birthday, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night. Stanton Friedman, everybody. Happy birthday. Happy 81st. Spend it right here with all of you Fadernauts right here on Fade to Black. Thank you so much. And I had a great time. And you know what? We're up against a break, but you know what? We've got a phone call coming in. I'm just going to have to take this. Hi, Mark. How's Australia tonight?
Me pretty good.
Sorry about that. I muted, and you just missed Stanton.
Okay.
So you were just calling to say hi to me then, right?
That's right, mate. Happy birthday, Jimmy.
Hey, man, mine's coming up. Mine's coming up in October. But what'd you think of that?
Okay.
What'd you think of that interview? That conversation, I should say, it wasn't an interview. The conversation with Stanton.
That was great, mate. That was great. He's always an interesting guest, and he always has something good to say.
He does, and one thing that that I hope that everybody gets this vibe from me. It is nothing but mad respect. You shut up and you listen, because we know nothing. You know what I mean? We know nothing. Nothing. You just need to sit and listen to Stanton and get educated. And appreciate everything that he has to say, because he has been through it all. Anything that we think we've been through in life, he's done it 10 times already. And you just need to stop and listen. And I hope that I allowed that to happen tonight for everybody, so you can just sit back and enjoy the man.
No, exactly, Jimmy. Stanton Friedman, he's got the experience and he's got the knowledge, and he's been around for a long time, and he's a very smart man. You got to respect what he has to say.
You have to, and I can't wait to hang out with him in about a month here. And too bad you're in Australia, but it seems like all the good stuff happens over here, and sometimes I feel bad. I know what it was like when I lived in down in Panama. All the cool stuff happened in the States. And I couldn't.
No, definitely.
But you guys do have Duncan Rhodes over there, and he puts on a good show. Do you ever go to his stuff?
No, I haven't, Jimmy. No, I haven't. I know. We've had a few incidents down here with UFOs and sort of that stuff. But it seems to sort of hang around you guys.
Yeah, I don't know why that is. I think it's just because there's maybe more people here. That's all. More people to witness.
Yeah, possibly.
Yeah, I think it goes down.
Possibly.
Well, if you think about it, Canada, man, has got more than their share of action when it comes to UFO sightings and incidents. I'm not kidding about that. I mean, that's where, especially over the last couple of years, they have had a tremendous amount of sightings up there. And I don't know why. Maybe it's the nuclear weapons that we have so close to the border. That could be. I don't know. Maybe the UFOs like that Alberta beef. I don't know. But
it's not as if we don't have cows down here.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
But I think the nuclear aspect is definitely one of the main reasons. Yeah. Obviously, you and a few other countries have got them, and they just seem to be attracted to them. And whether it's a message of leave these things alone and don't play with them, or I don't know. It's but it's just we're playing with fire when it comes to stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely,
I think.
Absolutely, Mark. Hey, man.
And at the end of the day, it's a no-win situation. If everyone presses the button, who's going to win really?
None of us. Australia. Because,
besides us, maybe. But
yeah, you guys, we're all going to move to Australia. That's where Have a great night, Mark.
All right, mate.
And we'll see you tomorrow night.
Thanks, Jimmy. See you, mate.
You got it. Let's take a quick break. Let's get this in. We got to do this. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. There are calls on hold. I'll get to those when we get back. This is Fade to Black, bespoke radio for the masses on the Game Changer Network and KGRA, the planet. Thank you, Stanton, the big Stanton Freeman birthday bash. Thank you, Stanton. I'll be back right after this short break. Stay with us.
KGRA Radio. Intelligent talk.
Are you a paranormal investigator, ghost hunter, or UFO skywatcher? If so, FNGinnovations.com has the product you definitely need in your investigations kit or go bag. Introducing the Morpholite Wide Beam Tactical Flashlights that put the light where you need it most. Traditional flashlights shine a focused round beam with limited line of sight in the dark. Morpholite Tactical Flashlights change all that, utilizing a revolutionary wide beam design to enable you to see safety hazards such as hanging wires and steel, pipes, and holes in the floor you just can't see with a focused round beam. In the field, where safety is paramount, a 180-degree beam increases orientation and peripheral vision in the dark. Morpholite flashlights are ideal for investigations in abandoned facilities such as houses and hospitals, factories, caves, and tunnels. Avoid those low-hanging tree branches that poke your eyes in the woods. Visit FNGinnovations.com to see a full line of tactical lights and accessories. That's FNGinnovations.com.
Now you can find all your favorite talk radio shows live, all in one place at TalkStreamLive.com. Listen from anywhere, office, home, or in your car. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com and click on one of the many live talk show hosts you want to listen to. It's free and easy. No computer? Download the smartphone apps. Never miss your favorite talk show. Find them all at TalkStreamLive.com.
Hey everybody, what's up? Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and check this out. The 2015 MUFON Symposium will be held this September 24th through the 27th in beautiful downtown Irvine, California. Expanding ufology, opening new doors in academia, industry, and media. Former Defense Minister of Canada Paul Hellyer will be there in person. Former CNN news anchor Cheryl Jones, TV news journalist Jaime Maussan, and MUFON's chief photo analyst Mark D'Antonio. They're just a few of the growing list of names for the 2015 event. It's September 24th through the 27th at the beautiful Hotel Irvine. Get your tickets today at MUFONSymposium.com. That's MUFONSymposium.com. Go Beckley Tepe.
You want to know a secret? I love ponies. I really love ponies. I'm serious. I couldn't stay sane without ponies to brush.
Why Fade to Black?
Because you never got that pony, damn it.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
All right, welcome back, Fade to Black. I'm in a great mood. Thank you, Stanton Friedman, for spending your birthday with us. Such an honor. 81 years young, man. 81. Happy birthday, Stanton. Oh, man, it's just, wow. I'm in a good mood. How could I not be, right? So, where am I? Where's my brain at? I'm in a great mood. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to open up the phone lines, 323-825-5045. If you want to call in, talk about anything with a little prelude to tomorrow night. There's plenty of things that we can talk about tonight. I'm going to go through all of the news that you know nothing about. I don't think I got, did I? No, I didn't do anything today. So, okay, so I'm going to go back, and I sort of had this planned out to do it this way. And I was just thinking the way that the show ran tonight, I didn't do a bunch of the normal things. So we'll get to all of that. So I'm going to open up the phone lines, 323-825-5045. And you can also Skype in Fade to Black 14. Twitter has been on fire tonight. You can follow us on Twitter at JChurchRadio. All the questions are great. I tried to get as many of those in. I was trying to be smooth. I was trying to make it look like those were my questions. And I know you guys were all picking up on that, huh? So, yeah, all right. Let's see here. Okay, all right. I was going to do the news. Let's bang the phones. Hi, Steve. How you doing tonight?
How's it going, Jimmy?
Where are you right now?
Right now, I am sitting on my deck, looking out at the bay on the island of Coronado, just off of San Diego, California, Jimmy.
Oh, dude, what hotel? Are you at the Hotel Coronado?
I'm at Lowe's, just down from the Hotel Coronado.
Oh, man. It don't get no better than that, does it?
Oh, I know. It's beautiful. The weather's beautiful. I love it. Just spent all day on the USS Midway, checking it out on the museum. And
you know what's crazy now that you're there and you're witnessing it is the size of that Navy base. Is that just stupid huge or what?
It's huge. And it just so happens to be the USS, I think Carl Vinson is in port, and that's the aircraft carrier that Osama bin Laden was supposedly ejected from. Is in port.
So, and for some reason down there at night on Coronado Island, the drinks taste better. The air smells better, and life is just perfect. And now you know why people live in Southern California. You're figuring it out.
You ain't kidding. Everybody that I speak to is, where are you from? I'm from South of Washington. How long you been here? Oh, I've been here 25 years.
Yeah, right.
They come here and they don't leave.
No. You're figuring that out. It's really, really funny. Where are you from? Minnesota? Oh, really? How long you been here? 40 years, man. I came here to visit, and I never went back.
Never left.
You get that story. So are you going to make it up here to Los Angeles in time for Fader night tomorrow night? You want to come in the studio?
No, but I wish I could, buddy, but my schedule was booked. I was doing everything I could to get to L.A., but my wife just booked me out for the week, buddy.
Oh, you guys have a great time down there, and would love to have you live in the studio. The Fadernauts right now are kind of, pissed off. They were kind of hoping that you'd be able to make it in, roll into the studio, and then head over to Cassaday Church and hit the grill and do all those things that we do with out-of-town guests.
I was trying everything under the sun to get to L.A., Jimmy. It just wasn't working for me, brother.
Well, next time.
Oh, I will be, believe me, after this trip, I will be back to Southern California real soon.
Why did you go to San Diego instead of, Los Angeles and Hollywood and Venice Beach and the Griffith Observatory, Mann's Chinese Theater, Sunset Boulevard, House of Blues?
Well, I like the wife and the kids. We really like they like SeaWorld and the San Diego Zoo and stuff. So we checked all that out and went to that the new safari park that San Diego has. That it's like 1,800-acre safari park, which is
it's
unbelievable.
It is pretty
unbelievable.
Insane. Did you go to Legoland?
No, I didn't go to Legoland, Jimmy. I'm not a Lego man.
Hey, man, Legoland is happening. Make no mistake about it, brother. Oh, man,
Yep.
I love me some Legoland. So,
and you got all the Navy SEALs are all training here on Coronado. They're all out on every day. You can watch them out on the beach.
Well, how many
training and going crazy?
Do you think you'd ever get used to, and I know that I never have, is taking the bridge out to Coronado Island, from downtown San Diego, and you drive out, and you're up so high, and it's so long and so big, it's intimidating, and then you just look at all of the ships in the bay there. It's like, it seems like the whole United States Navy is parked right there. It's really a trippy thing. Do you think you'll ever get used to that? It's pretty fascinating.
I never used to, because I've been to Norfolk several times, being from Virginia, and seeing a lot of boats, in the Chesapeake Harbor, or in the Chesapeake Bay there, but nothing like here, Jimmy. There is just boat after boat after boat after boat here.
It's.
I mean, you just see that, you just like, here's the whole Pacific Fleet.
I know.
In San Diego. Do we have any ships in the Pacific Ocean right now, is what you're thinking, and then you realize that there's still 5 other aircraft carriers
being rotated.
Being rotated right now.
Yeah. I went over the bridge one time. I forget who I was with, man. It seems like I was with a band. The Kooks or somebody from England, and we're going over the bridge, and I looked down, and there were 2 aircraft carriers parked side by side, and I just thought, that is the most. How do they float? How it just boggles the mind, and there they are, and then you just kind of look, and you go, oh wait, there's destroyers, and there's missile cruisers, and there's small things, there's escorts, and then and if you look really close, you might see a submarine or 2. It's insane.
Yes, I've seen 2 submarines, and I bet you I've seen 30 frigates.
Yeah.
I mean, they're everywhere.
They're everywhere. It is intimidating. It's very cool. If you're a Navy guy and if you're into that sort of thing, it's a guy thing. I don't know if
it's a guy thing.
Yeah, but
and you look up, Jimmy, and you see, at any one time, you can count 10 helicopters in the sky at any time. Just look over toward the base, and you see at least 10 helicopters in the air at all times.
Yeah, and you'll always, and the other thing, and this is another trippy aspect about San Diego, too, is the Air Force and the Navy and the airplanes that are up. And you look up, and there's a couple of F-18s, cruising by at low altitude, F-15s, F-16s, just flying around all the time. And it's cool, man. They're loud and they're low, and they know people are watching them, and it's pretty trippy too. So yeah, you get a taste of everything over there.
If you're a military, person and really like looking at that stuff, San Diego is the place to come and see. You see a lot of stuff.
John Titus, John Teeter too, ran he goes, isn't that where the Starfleet Academy is? Oh man, there you go.
And see, now, Jimmy, since after the one ship that got hit, that was in port in what was the USS Cole?
The Cole,
hit. So you can't get now. They put those big barriers up when these aircraft carriers in port. You can't get nowhere close to them. They put these huge floating gates around the aircraft carrier.
Yeah, well,
and all the ships.
Yeah, down in San Diego, you wouldn't have to worry about that because some of the civilians would would take somebody.
Oh,
out.
yeah.
They love the military down there. But yeah, you're absolutely right. I noticed the same thing. Those floating barriers around everything. There ain't nothing happening down there. It's
nothing. You're not getting nowhere close to that stuff.
So, what'd you think of our little happy birthday show with Stanton? Pretty amazing, isn't it?
Oh, I'm a Stanton Freeman fan. The only thing that I kind of disagree with him on is,
SETI.
The guy from Area 51 that he don't believe.
Bob Lazar.
Bob Lazar. Because I'm still up in there with Bob Lazar too, in a way. But God, there's just too much stuff that he's, the element. When he come up with the element, that's what kind of took the cake for me.
Well, Element 115. Check this out. I'm not kidding about this. I'll say it right now. He's in bed. He's not listening, I hope. But we did this panel. He was on my panel at Contact in the Desert. And so I'm standing out in front of everybody with the mic, and I don't know how many people were in the audience, but there was a buttload, I don't know, 1,000 people, out there. All the Fadernauts are there. Everybody's there. And somehow, and I don't know how it happened, but somehow Bob Lazar was brought up. And I barely got Lazar's name out of my mouth, and I'm serious. I thought Stanton was going to stand up and bitch slap me. Stanton's 80-year-old body, he looked at me and I was like, dude, I said, Mr. Friedman, we're not here to debate Lazar. We can change the. And I was like, oh man, it almost went really bad. And he is passionate about that subject. And the Fadernauts wanted me to ask. I just did. You know what? I already went there once with him. I really don't. It's his birthday. Let's not do it. But, I did. And his opinion and his investigation about Lazar is, everybody knows my position. I've been waiting for Bob to trip up on himself for years. I believe what he has to say. That's my opinion. Stanton has his.
Me too, Jim. The element deal, when he said the deal with the element, like I said, was the element 115, no one was even talking about that. He was the only one talking about element 115, and then all of a sudden here it appears out of nowhere, they prove that it exists.
Well, let me, and I agree with you about the 115 thing, okay, but I'll look, and I don't want to burst your bubble or anybody else's on this, or my own, but there's one thing that you have to understand. You can predict right now, Steve from Bluefield, right now on this show, could bring up and say, element 127 hasn't been, there is no element 127, but there will be someday. Okay, there will be. It will be created. It will be found. It will be done at CERN, whatever. But eventually we'll get around to it. And at the time when he spoke about element 115, it hadn't been discovered is the wrong word. Created is another way to describe it, because you're eventually going to get to that point. And we got to that point, and we discovered / created element 115, albeit that it lasts for, micro nanoseconds and so forth. But that doesn't mean that isn't what he was talking about, that same element and 115. So that's all I'm trying to say is, Steve, there could be a Steve from Bluefield element 127 one day if you wanted to talk about it right now. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Right, I understand completely, Jimmy.
Yeah, eventually
we'll get around. Completely.
We'll have element 251 someday. We'll get to it, and it'll be on the periodic charts, and we're just filling in the blanks as we get there. I'm no physicist. I'm not trying to say I don't have a PhD in my name or anything like that. I'm not that smart of a guy. I'm just saying eventually we'll have all of those out there. And that's the part, element 115, does it exist today? Yes. Did he talk about it then? Yes. Is it the same element that he was talking about back then? I'm not sure. What he was talking about back then is that we had stockpiles of it and it was given to us and we were able to propel these. Well, the element 115 that he's talking about, or that you're talking about that we have today, doesn't hang out. It's only here and gone at the same instant. You know what I mean? We don't have pounds
right.
of it.
Right. Well, they're only producing it, in that big
CERN.
Yes. That big chamber, whatever. They have to, mash 1 million.
Yeah, in a collider.
Particles in the collider. Yeah, the hadron collider. You got to mash 10 million elements together for a nanosecond to create it.
Right. But it doesn't mean that it wasn't the same thing that he was talking about, and that ET technology had a way to collect it, and maybe on some planet that stuff is lying around in piles, like in Galaxy Quest. What was that? the beryllium sphere.
Sphere.
Oh, man. All right, Steve, I really wish you could make it up here. And
man, me too, Jimmy. I was pulling every string. I was doing every little honeydew thing I could to get to LA.
Oh, man. Well, give my best to the family. You guys have a great time down there. And if a miracle happens, come up here and see us.
Thank you for the time, Jimmy.
You got it. Thank you, Steve. Steve from Bluefield, right there in San Diego. So close. And yet, so far. All right, that does open up the phone lines. I'll keep them open. Why not? I've got to get to all this news that you know nothing about. All right, on this day in history, it was a big one, 1958, President Eisenhower authorizes the creation of NASA. That's right. On this day, the U.S. Congress passes legislation establishing the National Aeronautics and Space Administration, otherwise known as NASA, a civilian agency responsible for coordinating America's activities in space. On this day in 1958. Fader facts, got a couple. One was sent in. Check this out. The venom of the box jellyfish is among the most powerful in the world. It has caused at least 5,567 human deaths since 1954. That's a Fader fact. And I have another Fader fact today, and this has to do with the tragic slaying of Cecil the Lion. There's a slight connection here. But check this out. There are only 4 northern white rhinos left on planet Earth. Think about that. There are only 4. 1 male and 2 females live in Kenya. And 1 female, and her name is Nola, she lives at the San Diego Zoo. There you go, Steve from Bluefield. If you went to the San Diego Zoo, which I think you just did, that white rhino is 1 of 4 in the world. The 1 male, incidentally, so I went and did a bunch of research on this today. The 1 male is so old, he's so ancient, that I got to keep this clean. It's a family show. The normal ways of reproduction are impossible. He can't do it. He's too old. They're trying to figure out something, but there's only him and those 3, and that's it. And that's another Fader fact. 4 northern white rhinos left on planet Earth. The male that's in Kenya, they had to cut off his horn. They did it on purpose to keep poachers off of him. It's just tragic, man. Just absolutely crazy. Okay, let's get to all the news that you know nothing about. Yes, a mysterious piece of plane debris has washed up on the French Indian coast island of La Réunion today, prompting speculation that it could be part of the missing flight MH370. The 2-meter-long, let's do this, and I'm going to do this. The 2-meter-long piece of wreckage, which seemed to be part of a wing, was found by people cleaning up the beach, and it was covered by shells, so it had obviously been sitting there for a long time. Now, officials from Boeing are saying, who built the 777, that it could be from a 777. They used photographs, they looked at it, they analyzed it, and their findings do suggest that the debris is consistent in appearance with a Boeing 777 flaperon, which is a piece of the wing. Interesting. Let's go back to the phones. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black. Who's calling?
Hey, Jimmy, it's Allison. How are you?
Hi, Allison. Man, I haven't heard your voice in a month of Sundays. How are you?
I'm fine. I wanted to wish Stanton a happy birthday, and I didn't make it in time.
Oh.
I just wanted to say, with all of everything that's going on right now with the current info in the world of UFOs and the Black Space Program and all that kind of stuff, and you guys know what I mean because I've been posting it like crazy. It's so nice to hear somebody actually make some sense and put a reasonable twist on things. And I have a question. Do you think it's the age or the intelligence?
With Stanton?
Yes, sir.
Well, you know, I before I even cop out and say it's a combination of both, but it has to be a combination of both because he's 81. He's been doing this for 50 years, over 50 years. And but at his level of contact in his research, he has spoken at the UN twice. He's spoken in front of Congress. He's spoken to all levels of the military, from Navy to Air Force and Marines and the Army. There's that aspect. There's with the space program, and he's been there, and so the information that he knows, I would like to say that he has given us everything. Of course not. He can't. There are certain, he's been privy to certain things that he's probably going to take with him when he departs this great planet. And so when you say, is it the research, is it the intelligence or is it the age? He is speaking from a point of reference that you and I don't have. We don't know. Allison, we don't. Yeah. You and I don't have any clue where his point of reference comes. We just don't. And that's really the truth.
Yeah, that's a very deep wisdom. And if he's listening, I just want to say I really appreciated everything you said tonight. And I just was like, wow, why can't we have more insight and intelligence like he has? And yet I know that a lot of us have a lot of years to go before we can get there, which was my opinion. I think it's a combination of his age, but it's also how he has taken the information that he has researched and connected those nodes of very diverse areas of information and brought them back around and made them make sense, which is something that a lot of people today are quite lacking in.
Well, yeah, and speaking on that, he comes, what has he got to lose? Okay, he's 81 years old. So he doesn't have to go, make stuff up and go sensational and say things that aren't true. He's not saying that. Anyway, his feet are on the ground. And when he speaks, he comes from a grounded mindset. And he's not here to talk about the sensational. He wants to talk about facts and talk about what's real so we can get a grasp on that and accept what reality is. And when it comes from a guy from, like I said, from his background and his knowledge, we have no choice but to sit and listen and keep your ears open. Don't speak when Stanton is speaking. Don't think about something else when Stanton is talking to you. Listen to him. because
you might miss something very important.
Well, because we're all idiots, you know, and you know what I'm trying to say here. We're here to take from Stanton. We're here to learn. We're here to, you know, respect and listen to what he has to say, because there is nobody around me. There's nobody that I know that knows as much as Stanton Friedman, or has been to, you know, he has been to the promised land. He has been to the edge of the cliff and took a peek. I haven't done that yet. I've been close, but he's done it so many times. You know, I haven't spoken in front of the United Nations. Have you? Do you know anybody? Do you know anybody that has? No.
No.
Okay, that's it. So just stop and listen to what he has to say and learn something. That's all. And that's all he wants. You know, he's not here to go sensational on us. He's not. He just wants us to learn. And that I have mad respect for Stanton Friedman. Mad respect.
But what he said was extremely important and in some respects very sensational. However, it was all based in his research through many years and his facts, and the way that he put it together made it fabulous, because there is so much information, disinformation, in caca, just general caca floating around out there today. And he has a way of putting it all into perspective, which I highly respect. And I just thank you for having him on. What a gift tonight. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Allison. You're a gift, too. Thank you, Allison. Give my best to Naptown. You know I miss it out there.
Yeah, well, you're not missing much. All right.
No. I'm going to be out there soon. And my family, my brother and my parents, my brother just built a house. And they've now moved in over on the west side. And my parents are getting ready to get a house over there, too. So as soon as they do and they finish that, I will be out there in Naptown. Who knows? Maybe I'll even do a show.
Well, that would be super cool. And if you have time, we'll open the Barbie over here and put on really... You're invited, dude.
Oh, yeah, we'll do it.
If you can find the time.
Yeah, Allison and Michael Anderson. We'll put it together. Thank you so much, Allison.
Thank you, hon.
Have a good night.
Thank you very much for tonight's show. Good night.
All the best. All right, let's take a quick break. Thank you, Allison. Let's take a quick break. And when I come back, you know what? I'll leave the phone lines open. Why not? And I'll continue with all the news that you know nothing about. We work really hard on that news every single day, and I want to make sure that you get it. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. KGRA, The Planet, the Game Changer Network. This is Bespoke Radio for the masses. I'll be back right after
this. Despite popular opinion, reading a book will not make you smarter.
Attention, all Fadernauts. Studio Dome has a special deal on their SD1 Bluetooth speaker. Just go to jimmychurchradio.com, click on their banner, enter the promo code Jimmy, and you get $40 off and free shipping on the SD1. It's voice activated, comes with a USB antenna, cables, and a carry bag. Never listen to your phone, tablet, or laptop speakers ever again. It's the only way to listen to Fade to Black. That's jimmychurchradio.com, Studio Dome banner, promo code Jimmy. Go Beckley Teppy.
Erica, Brittany, Gabby, and you're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com.
It's not a lifestyle we chose. We were born this way. KGRARadio.com.
Hey, everybody, what's up? Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and check this out. The 2015 MUFON Symposium will be held this September 24th through the 27th in beautiful downtown Irvine, California. Expanding ufology, opening new doors in academia, industry, and media. Former Defense Minister of Canada Paul Hellyer will be there in person. Former CNN news anchor Cheryl Jones, TV news journalist Jaime Maussan, and MUFON's chief photo analyst Mark D'Antonio. They're just a few of the growing list of names for the 2015 event. It's September 24th through the 27th at the beautiful Hotel Irvine. Get your tickets today at MUFONSymposium.com. That's MUFONSymposium.com. Go Beckley Teppy.
This is KJCR at JimmyChurchRadio.com.
All right, welcome back. Fade to Black. Again, I would like to thank Stanton T. Friedman for coming in and spending his birthday with us. That was very special. Very cool. 81 years young. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. This is Fade to Black. You can follow us on Twitter at JChurchRadio. Email is, what is it? Oh, Jimmy at JimmyChurchRadio.com. I almost forgot. I almost gave away the secret email. I almost did. On Monday, I've got to tell you, Space Boy has really lit it up, and I cannot wait for Monday. You guys are gonna freak. You guys are gonna lose your mind, and there's so much talent amongst our audience and the Fadernauts out there. So much talent, great artists and painters and writers and music and everything else, film and actors, and it's just incredible. And Space Boy is just a fine, shining example of that. And I've just got to say, it's going to be a great day on Monday. You're not going to want to miss the show on Monday. All right, let's get back to the news that you know nothing about. I am leaving the phone lines open just for grins. 323-825-5045. This week, security researchers Runa Sandvik and Michael Alger hacked into a pair of $13,000 tracking point self-aiming sniper rifles via its Wi-Fi connection. The computerized rifles are not only Wi-Fi capable in the event that the shooter wants to maybe live stream or needs to live stream or upload a video to a laptop or to an iPad. There's reasons for that, if you think about it. And Sandvik and Alger found vulnerabilities in the rifle software, and they were able to use the gun's wireless connection to access everything in the program interface, everything about the rifle they were able to get into and hack. They essentially reprogrammed everything. In short, and I'm not making this up, they were able to make the rifle miss its target, disable the scope's computer, prevent the gun from firing, and even change the targeting system in a way that caused the shooter to hit a different target. Now, I want you to absorb everything that I just said. They were able to hit a different target. You are able to see what is being targeted. You're able to look through the scope. You're able to do everything that you need to inside of this operating system, and even go to the point where you can look at, and whatever that target is, you can go to the left or go to the right and do it yourself. That is scary. The remains of 97 bodies have been found stuffed into a small 5,000-year-old house in a prehistoric village in northeast China. Researchers reported in two separate studies today. The bodies of juveniles, young adults, middle-aged adults were all packed together in the house, smaller than a modern-day, I was trying to think of something creative, like the lane, the free throw lane of a basketball court, just stuffed, 100 bodies. And then the body appeared to be, or the house appeared to have been burnt down. Anthropologists who studied the remains say that a prehistoric disaster, possibly an epidemic of some sort, killed these people, and then maybe a natural disaster came in, burned the house, or maybe the house was actually lit on fire with the bodies inside. And this was done 5,000 years ago. Crazy. Billionaire entrepreneur Elon Musk, physicist Stephen Hawking, and other tech luminaries have signed an open letter warning against the dangers of starting a global arms race of artificial intelligence technology unless the United Nations supports a ban on weapons that humans have no meaningful control over. The U.S. Army is considering reducing the size of brigades, replacing some men and women with robots and unmanned vehicles. The letter, which was issued by the Future of Life organization, was presented this past July 27th, 2 days ago, at the International Joint Conference on Artificial Intelligence in Buenos Aires, Argentina. One of the most frightening things to me is unmanned aerial vehicles that are armed. I'm not talking about, well, drones are here, but I'm talking about fighter attack aircraft without a pilot in it. Swarms of them coming at you out there. That kind of AI and that kind of independence with that kind of firepower, think about it, okay? They have a logic programmed into them to make a decision, the decision to fire upon a village. Think about that. They detect a threat, they swarm in, bomb and machine gun, whatever. And that stuff gets out of control, we have an issue. Now, if there is, you imagine a little robot, right? A little robot that they use to go and disarm a bomb, right? Okay, police use them, the army uses them. Okay, all right, and then okay, so put a machine gun on the top of that, and give that some independence, and that guy is rolling up an alleyway, sneaking up on some insurgents, some ISIS guys or whatever, and they see that rolling up the alley or the street. Do you think that's going to freak somebody out? I don't think so. You're going to be able to shoot that thing, a little RPG, shoulder fired, whatever, and take it out. But taking that to another level where there are swarms of that with artificial intelligence involved, that's a little bit freaky. Now, if you're some enemy guy and you're hiding out, and then you look and you peek around the corner and you've got 1,000 of those things coming at you at 60 miles an hour through the dust, they don't need to see. They're guided by GPS, so they know where they are in a 3D mapped world, and they know where they need to go, and they're not afraid of bullets, and they're just going to come at you and overtake a city, a village, a point that they need to get into. That's pretty scary, because that is exactly what you want, or not. You want to be able to control that. And you start to throw AI into it where these things are making their own decision. That's a bad world. You don't really want that, do you? It's a pretty scary thought. And I think the letter was needed. And I think, I talk about AI all the time on this show. And I talked about those robots the other day, where the first time a logic question that was never answered before by a robot that could only be answered by a human was answered correctly. And that singularity, that point, is close. And do we want to be able to? I understand you want pilots out of harm's way, and I understand you want to shrink the size of brigades, and I understand you don't want bodies out there on the front lines and just put a machine there in place. But then there's crossing the line of AI into somebody that's armed, a thing that is armed. Do we really want to get to that point? No, we don't. There's no way it would ever be foolproof. There's just no way. There's no way. And the point of you have a brigade of armed little guys, running around, and you have an off switch, the emergency throw switch to shut it down in case things go awry. Well, you know what? They'll be one step ahead of you if it ever gets to that point, and you won't be able to shut it off if you need to. Researchers have developed face recognition technology that works in utter darkness. What was I just talking about? Computer scientists Saqib Safraz and Rainier Steifelhagen from the Karlsruhe Institute of Technology in Germany created a system that analyzes dozens of infrared images of a person's face and then compares them to images taken in daylight. The comparisons are made with a computer program that works using a so-called deep neural network system designed to imitate the function of the human brain. Now, check this out. In a study published this week, the two of them explain how the deep neural network analyzed 4,500 images taken in both infrared and visible light and was able to establish a match in 35 milliseconds. Yes. Complete darkness. 1984 is here. It's absolutely frightening. The most wanted man on the internet. Yes, I wasn't going to let this night go by, without talking about Walter J. Palmer, the most wanted man on the internet. His life is officially over. He's a dentist from Minnesota. He paid at least $50,000 to hunt a lion named Cecil. And Cecil turned out to be the major tourist attraction at Zimbabwe's Hwange National Park. Palmer, as disgusting as this story is, it needs to be told. This kind of thing needs to stop now, today. And it's a tragic thing for Cecil. But is this what it's going to take to end this now? Period. Palmer lured Cecil out of the sanctuary park, outside of the park where Cecil was located on the inside. And I'm going to get to the tracking situation here in a second. They lured him out of the park with a dead animal on top of a vehicle. Lured him out at night, shot Cecil with a crossbow. Yes, but Cecil survived. He survived for another 40 hours. This story, it puts a lump in my throat, it rips my heart out, and I just don't get it. So what did they do? They go back. They find Cecil. Now remember, he wanted to make sure, this dirtbag Palmer wanted to make sure that the hunt was legal. So you remember that Cecil Sanctuary was inside of the park. Nobody could hurt him, right? But if they lure Cecil outside of the park and he crosses that line, then supposedly it's a legal hunt. And that's the excuse that this dirtbag Palmer is trying to ride on. Okay, so they lure Cecil out. He crosses the line. He gets shot with a crossbow. And then they track him down 40 hours later and shoot him with a gun. Cecil was then skinned and beheaded. Skinned and beheaded. They don't know where Cecil's head is. The hunters then, dirtbag Palmer, tried to destroy the GPS collar that Cecil was wearing as part of research backed by Oxford University. Now, you don't think this dirtbag Palmer knew at that time he did the wrong thing? They go up to this lion who is shot. At 40 hours, he's walking around with an arrow sticking out of his neck. They track him down, and he's got a frigging GPS collar on. Now, don't you take that lion at that point to the hospital and go, you know what? I effed up. I really made a mistake here. I am so sorry. And let's save this lion's life. I made a mistake. But no. They shoot the lion in the head. They behead him, and then they skin him and leave the carcass there and walk away. So this dirtbag, Palmer, this is what I say. I've thought about this all day long. You know what? I'll pay $50,000. I'm sure somebody would, to let Palmer loose with the GPS collar on. Let's let him go. Let's let him go. That's his punishment. Let's go find him and shoot him with a crossbow. Let him lie there for 40 hours with an arrow in his neck. Let him know what it's like. Maybe lure him out of his little sanctuary. Hey, Palmer, check it out, man. Come over here. We'll take the GPS collar off of you, man. We'll save you from this. Oh, really? He steps across the line and bam, shoot him in the neck. God. Just absolutely disgusting. So I think, it's totally sad. This rips my heart out. And it's tragic enough. And, as it turns out, this guy Cecil, the lion Cecil, he loved humans. He was putting on a show. He had his sanctuary. Everybody would come by and see him, and he would just hang out, man. And that's the other part. So, anyway, I hope that that this kind of thing is just over with. I did see an article. I saw an article about this. I think it was an ex-Navy SEAL, Marine, whatever. That is, they're employed now over in Kenya, Zimbabwe, where they actually take out poachers, man, with sniper rifles. Getting ready to take down a rhino, a hippo, a lion, a giraffe, and all of a sudden, a shot from a mile and a half away comes in. Yeah, that's funny. I love it. Man, this guy Palmer. So I heard that he's all bummed out that he had to take down his, he's a dentist, and his Yelp complaints, and he had to take down his website, and he's all scared. What do you expect, dude? What do you expect? I thought that this story, I know I'm rambling on about this, but man, when I first saw the first post of the story, I thought it was a hoax. I thought it was just made up. I just thought that there is no way, right? No way. I thought it was, the name was fixed, it was a pseudonym, and I just thought that it just wasn't true. And it turns out it is. And this guy is actually bummed, and this guy is sorry now for what he did. Come on, that's it. This line in the sand was way crossed. And there's nothing that you can say. There's no humbling. There's no getting down on your knees and apologizing for this and hoping that your old life is going to come back. And no, your best days are behind you. I hope you go broke. I hope you lose everything. And I hope you're living on the streets really, really, really soon. And that is it. Your picture needs to be published, and that's it. You can't go and do this and expect that it's all going to be good, that you can give the money back and apologize. No. Where's the head? Where's Cecil's head, buddy? What'd you do with that? What were you doing with the skin? Were you going to make a rug? Were you going to make a jacket out of it? You just, man. I'm loving. I'm not the only one that thinks like this. And Cortana just said Dirtbag Palmer needs to be flayed alive. Man, he needs to hang out with some hungry lions. So there you go. I'm at the end of the show. I could literally do the next 5 minutes just talking about how angry I am about this guy. We should publish his. I have no problems with publishing his phone number and his email address and let everybody rip on him for a while. He just needs to go away. All right, where am I? Fueled by population growth in some of the poorest African countries, the number of people on Earth is expected to grow faster than previously expected, reaching 8.5 billion people in 15 years and 11.2 billion by the end of this century, according to the United Nations projections that were released earlier today. I'm questioning all of the information. The numbers don't seem to fit, and they don't certainly fit the Illuminati agenda. But Africa is expected to account for more than half of the world's population growth through 2050 to 9.7 billion, from 7.3 billion today. It's not quite right. The numbers don't quite fit. We went from 2 billion to 7 billion in the last 100 years, and I just don't see growing by another 2 billion by 2050. It doesn't seem right? The numbers just don't quite fit. India will likely surpass China and become the most populous country by 2022. Again, I'm not too sure if this is disinfo. I'm not quite sure why they published these numbers today. And remember, these came directly from a United Nations report. Now, coming later on this month, the term, one of my favorites, once in a blue moon, I'm thinking of the movie, but nonetheless, the term once in a blue moon describes a second full moon occurring in 1 month. Again, once in a blue moon. Get it? And of course, that ties with an unusually long span of time. Once in a blue moon. But if conditions are right, this Friday, what's today? This Friday, we're going to have a blue moon the first time since August 2012. And the last until 2018. But in this instance, this blue moon that is going to happen this Friday is going to be an actual blue moon. Why? Fire season. Pollution. Yes, we have so much crazy stuff in the atmosphere right now that is going to be scattering red light in the atmosphere that the moon is actually going to be a giant blueberry. And that'll be this Friday. Pretty excited about it, actually. So there you go. Now, the Pentagon, and we'll wrap with this. Man, I've got so much good stuff here. I'm going to see if I can get all this in before the end of the show. The Pentagon has admitted that the United States Army lab accidentally, shipped live anthrax, but now the number is a little bit different. The number is 192 laboratories. That's right. The agency said yesterday that the list now includes labs in all 50 states. There you go. Including Guam, Puerto Rico, and the U.S. Virgin Islands. And Washington, D.C. The labs received live anthrax because of ineffective sterilization methods for killing the deadly bacteria. Not only do we have 192 laboratories in all 50 states, including Guam, Puerto Rico, and the U.S. Virgin Islands and Washington, D.C., it includes 7 foreign countries, including Australia, Canada, Germany, Italy, Japan, South Korea, and the United Kingdom. And that is according to our very own Department of Defense's laboratory review. You can actually go to the laboratory review site and see the numbers for yourself. Now, lastly, according to the Washington Post, police across the country have taken more than $2.5 billion in cash from 62,000 people who have never been charged with a crime since 2001. That's right, civil forfeiture. You get pulled over, you got some cash in your car, you're leaving Las Vegas, you just won 20 grand in the slot machines, you're rolling down the street, they pull you over, they take your cash, and you have to drive away and you don't get it back. That's just the way that it is. $2.5 billion since 2001. But now, New Mexico has become the first state to abolish civil forfeiture. That's right, let's all move to New Mexico, because now, a person who has been convicted of a crime first, before their assets can be forfeited to the state. Viva New Mexico. This is Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Thank you so much to Stanton T. Friedman hanging out tonight. Thank you to the producers of The Circle, Kurt and Don. Thank you for coming in. Stanton T. Friedman's 81st birthday show has been produced by Rita Kamurian. Show's also produced by Hilton J. Paul, Mark D. Kovar, LJ3, Renee, Mark Dunbar, and Jonas. Fady by Dale. Webmaster, Method of Signaling. Music by Doug Aldrich. Intro, Spaceboy, spaceboymusic.com. New stuff on Monday. Fade to Black is produced by KJCR for the Game Changer Network. Syndication by KGRA The Planet. Tomorrow night is Fader Night. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Everybody be safe. See ya.